Hello and welcome to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. We're going to jump right in. It's Resident Evil Day. So we're going to talk.
Congratulations.
As the day of recording.
It's also
it is Resident Evil Day. It's
also
show day for
early
me.
access MLB The Show Day. But
MLB The Show Day. But we have a bunch of stuff that we can talk about this week. We got Diablo beta impressions to talk about here. But I will go ahead and I will kick it off because I'm the only one here who has played Resident Evil 4 so far. I have, yes, very fancy. So, like I said, it just came out today as the time of this recording. So it unlocked last night, but I just didn't get a chance till today to play it. I have played the first hour and a half. I'm on chapter. I forgot that game has chapters, and that's like I think that's the only Resident Evil that has that like chapter. Well, no, 5 does because.
Yeah,
it is
5 definitely has chapters.
Okay. I guess 6 does too now I think about it.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm thinking of modern Resident Evil. So it still has the chapter layout. So I'm on chapter 2.
What's the last like 2. Major like part of the game you did? I don't remember what they're. Okay.
So I'm way past like the beginning part, where you have everybody in the town, all the demo stuff. I'm past that. So, cool. I mean, that part of the game is still great. I will say what's interesting though, when I started it had a different cutscene at the beginning that was not in the demo. Like almost like and it's not a cutscene from the original game either. It's like some chick on an altar that they sacrifice. Like it was really odd, like beginning of the game. And it's like, okay, I guess that's happening. So, and it's not, and I'll point out, it's not the president's daughter because they cut this girl's head off. So they don't show it, but I'm like, because at first I'm like, oh, is that Ashley? And then that happens. I'm like, oh, I guess it's not Ashley or this is a really different Resident Evil 4. Like, so my biggest thing, and like, as I've gotten past, because that was the important thing to me was like, the demo was a really good impression at least for me of like, it's still Resident Evil 4, but it's more modern. So, like, one of the things is, like, that you could not really do in Resident Evil 4, 5, maybe a little bit in 6, because 6 let you do all sorts of crazy movement, but Resident Evil 4 was not a stealth game. Right. There is some stealth element in this game. It almost reminds me of, like, The Last of Us when it comes to its stealth. Okay. So, like, you can crouch. You can actually completely turn the camera all the way around. Like, so in the beginning part, when the chainsaw guy shows up and he's chasing you, you can pan the camera all the way around and watch him chase you as you run, like, towards the screen. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you can also, like, what it reminded me of, like, when you start crouching down doing stealth kills is The Last of Us. That's the biggest thing. You can tell they took very heavy influence from that game to put it into this one. For that stuff, and then they brought in like breakable knives. So your main like combat knife is breakable, but you can also pick up like little shivs as well with your big combat knife. The other thing that I got to, so I did get to the first appearance of the merchant. So I've met him as well. He's like his voice, it's different, but it's fine. Like he sounds fine. The guy that sounds incredibly off, and I've only seen him once, but like. The main, and I don't remember the character, like, as I've said before on this podcast, like, Resident Evil 4 is by far not my favorite Resident Evil, so I don't remember characters' names as well as some of the other ones, but the head, like, cult leader.
Okay,
he has a pretty distinct, he has a pretty distinctive voice in the original game. It is completely different in this game. Like, when he opened his mouth, I was like, wow, that's not what I expected. So, not that it's a bad thing, it just was like, that's not, he doesn't sound like he did in the original. So that was a little like took me out of it. But as I've seen, like you've seen this week, like 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. I've played an hour and a half. To me, it's not a 10 out of 10, but the biggest thing I'll say from what I've played and what brought me back to the problems from the original Resident Evil 4 is this is the first game where you start fighting enemies that can fight back. not just zombies. So they
right,
have guns,
they actually have.
So I got to the first part where they're throwing.
Yeah,
I got to the first part where they're throwing dynamite, and I forgot how fucked up that is. So these are people. These are people that literally their brain is fucked up from the virus that they have, but they have impeccable accuracy with these things, and I'm like, no. So that reminded me, that took me right back to originally playing the game and being like, yeah, this is kind of ridiculous.
They can throw it over stuff and but it's crazy.
And that's it. Yeah. And that was the part I got to is I walked into this house and I could not find this one enemy that just kept chucking dynamite stick after dynamite stick. I'm like, the fuck is going on? So that brought me back to the problems of the original game. Now I haven't gotten as far to see Ashley. I've heard that they've corrected some of the issues with that. So I'll report back. I'll have a lot more to say about the game next week because it literally just came out today. Mm-hmm. Also, so I had to buy the deluxe version digitally because you get the soundtrack swap. That's the reason I bought that version. So you can play through the entire game with the original soundtrack.
Plus, you've bought every other deluxe version. Yeah,
I have. I'm a fan, so why wouldn't
I get it, man?
But the costumes they have for Leon are fucking insane in this game. The most Japanese anime looking shit you'll ever see. There's one where he's literally wearing feathers.
That's great.
I think that's right. Yeah, I'm not put down, but I'm just they're the most detailed costume swaps I've seen in any of these games so far. So they also you get this pretty cool shotgun in the deluxe edition that I think maybe you find it later in the game. It's called the Skull Crusher. It's pretty good. There's some other weapons. You get a treasure map it'll just show you where all the treasure is right away. I guess that's part of the deluxe edition. So, but I'm not enjoying my time with the game. It's just, as I played thus far, it reminds me of the problems that it originally had. And I know as I get towards the second half of that game, where they start dumping in the enemies with the guns and the grenades, I'm going to probably be brought back to the parts of that game I remember not liking 15 years ago. So I will have a lot more to say about it next time we record because I literally have only played an hour and a half. So, but it's not bad is what I would say. I've enjoyed my time with it. It looks incredible. You can play the one thing I'll point out that's really important to note about this game. You can run this game at 60 frames with ray tracing on. I think that's the first time I've seen that on one of these next gen games or PS5, Xbox. I'm playing on Series X, but I popped that on expecting the frame rate to diminish. It does not. An hour and a half I played, it was a rock solid 60 the entire time with ray tracing. We finally did it in 2023.
Well,
he made good on the promise.
Sort of.
No, but that's a testament to the re-engine. And I say every time we talk about that's the best move Capcom has done in the last decade was to take a break, make a new engine. Look at how well that's paid off in the last 6-7 years. With not even just Resident Evil, some of the other games like Monster Hunter uses that.
But what about Elden Ring adding ray tracing and immediately?
I imagine. Did they take it out?
I don't know if they took it out. Okay. I heard it's not going well.
Oh, I'm not surprised, but that game does have frame rate issues. So, but again, I'll have a lot more to say about Resident Evil next week. I don't have really much more to say about Hogwarts Legacy. I'm at the very end of the story of that game, so I still enjoy my time. I've literally nothing negative or nothing has changed about my opinion. I unlocked the further, the entire map is unlocked for me now. So now I can go visit. Like I said, when you start the game, about 70% of the map is unlocked, and the lower right, third of it, they have barred until you get to a certain story part. That's all unlocked now. So, but that's the only real thing I have to report on that. So, the other beta I tried this week before we jump into Diablo, because I know Dan, you've played it as well, so we can both talk about it. I tried out last weekend the Exoprimal beta,
man.
Which as I said, I don't know if I said it on the show or if you and I were talking about it, but when they announced that this game was a Game Pass game, I was very excited. And now after playing the beta, I will tell you this is a quintessential Game Pass game.
Well, it's what it seemed like when they announced it.
The beginning, though, so when you start the beta, they go through their bullshit story. It is presented. It is fucking stupid, as you would expect.
Well, I mean,
it is presented like the beginning of RoboCop. So you remember the beginning of RoboCop, where it's a bunch of news channels that are talking about different fucked up things happening in the world, and it's all done in a very I'm trying to like a very not sarcastic. What's the word I'm looking for? Where they make like it starts with
satire.
An S, like satire. Okay, in a very satirical way. This is it is satirical just like this, but with dinosaurs. So, like, for example, when they get to, like, the weather report, like, they literally have the weatherman, like, up there, and he's just like, yeah, we're going to have this big storm tomorrow of, like, velociraptors. They show this thing, like, literally open up this cloud, and then a bunch of fucking velociraptors are falling out of it.
Sure.
And, like, it's real dumb that way. But the beta literally is just, you go through the tutorial, you kind of figure out what the controls are, and then at first I thought it was going to be like Overwatch because it's mostly a cooperative online game. I don't think you can play this game offline. If you can, I don't know what the point of it is.
Sure.
But you are on a team versus another team, but you're not versus each other, shooting each other. Your goal is to see who can kill the most dinosaurs. Is how I could describe it. So it's weird like that. And that was not what I expected when I went into it, but I think
didn't realize I didn't realize it was multiplayer outside of like co-op.
Yeah,
kind of a thing.
So this was like a multiplayer thing. I think there is a co-op story mode to it as well. I don't think this is the whole point of the game. Because when I walked away, I'm like, that can't be all this game is. They wouldn't set up this absurd story idea and not have, and just, it's just a co-op game where you have two teams against each other. So, but the beta really only is presenting that like multiplayer co-op portion of it. So,
sure.
Not bad. Like, I'm very glad it's on Game Pass. So, because like,
I can't.
If I had played that beta and was wanting to buy the game, I probably wouldn't now. So, at least not right away.
Yeah.
They do also do a good pan of that character that looks like Regina from Dino Crisis in the beginning. You cannot make your character look like her though. The character creation that they throw in the beginning is very lackluster. Like in comparison to some modern games.
Pick from custom made models kind of thing.
It's basically like there's generic dude 1, generic dude 2, and then generic female 1, generic female 2, and that's it. And it's like you can change their skin color, you can change their outfit color. That's kind of it. Because the point of it is you're not really going to see the character. They're keep going into these different mech suits.
Okay.
And then you can actually change mech suits on the fly too, which is cool. So like if you're in the middle of a match, you can change from, hey, I'm this type of mech suit that specializes in this attack, but I can jump out of it and then call down a different one and jump into that one, which is kind of cool. But again, this is a Game Pass game. I'm super happy it is because I'll play it that way. But if it wasn't on Game Pass, I don't think this game would have a chance.
That doesn't even necessarily mean that it will. But
I want to say it's out July, like mid-July, I think.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit from now. I want to say it said July 14th.
Yeah, it looks like July. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
it's kind of early for a beta for that kind of a game where it's
a little weird. Title, it's also really weird that they decided, hey, let's put that beta out when there's another huge fucking beta.
Super weird.
That has 2 weekends, which we can jump into now, and that's Diablo 4. So you, Dan, and Matt, I don't think you've played it yet.
No, I was planning on.
You didn't reserve it, but you can now this weekend because it's open to everybody. So, and that they put in the Necro and what's the other character that wasn't in it? They're all unlocked this weekend. So I might actually go back and try the Necromancer because that's probably the character I'll play as when I play the game when it comes out. But I tried the Barbarian. I think you did the same thing, man.
That's what I did too.
I play like you and I kind of had the same experience. Like except I'll talk about the fucked up part of my experience. So when that Friday, this was last Friday, when that hit, obviously the servers were trashed as to be expected. This is a huge game. This is one of the biggest releases of the year.
That's to properly prep you for when the game launches and the servers are trash for the first couple of days.
That's why there's that 4-day early access.
Yeah.
Maybe don't buy that version. So they figure out their servers in that 4 days. But so I jumped in. I got done with work that Friday, and then in my office here, I was like, I'm gonna turn on the Office Xbox here I have, and I'll just get in the queue, and we'll see how long it takes. It took 90 minutes. Like I literally just I sat here on my couch. I took a nap, and by the time I woke up, it was like you're gonna be in the queue in like 5 seconds. I was like, cool. So I got in, and I made my one thing that's really cool. You can really customize your character in this. like way robust. More than any other Diablo.
Yeah.
Like
well, that's
really,
good.
I was very impressed with that part of it. So I spent like probably 20-25 minutes like creating like what I wanted my barbarian chick to look like, and I got done and I get in the game, and then I go, well, I was like, oh, let me look at some of the options. So I go in the options menu. I get into like the accessibility ones, and I decided, well, there's this thing where you can like highlight where your character is on the screen. I was like, I'll try that just to see what it's like. So I turn that on. I unpause my game. It just makes your character glow like bright green, like neon green. I was like, I can't do this. Sure. So I go back. I turn it off. All I did was I went back in the menu. I turned it off. I hit B to back out to go back into the game. It changed my language to, I think, Japanese or Chinese. I never figured out. It was either Japanese or Chinese.
Some Asian language, yeah.
All my display was some Asian language. I could not read anything. And I sat for like an hour trying to figure out, like, how do I, like,
that
is there anybody?
That was so funny to me when you sent me that
picture. I literally went on the Diablo Reddit. I posted a picture. I was like, can anybody tell me, like, where the option is so I can figure this out? Because I cannot read this language. And I finally I ended up making it in that language to the first boss. Like, I just was like, fuck it. Nice. I really want to play the game. I did it. I couldn't understand anything I was reading. The funny thing to note is this, like, all the speaking was still in English. It just was the text was whatever Asian. So like, I could understand what people are saying and stuff, like, go this way, but like, I couldn't read anything I was picking up. And then like, I was like, oh, I'll change some of my armor. Nope. Can't fucking do that. Cause I can't read what this is. Like, so I got to the first boss. And then after that, I was like, I'm done. Nobody was responding to my Reddit post because everybody was bitching about the server times. Yeah. And I said, well, I'll just try it tomorrow. So then the next day I loaded it up on my main Xbox out in the living room, and it thankfully did not have the language issue. It just loaded up like it should. Over. Yeah. It didn't carry that over. It carried everything else. It carried my character save and all that. It just didn't carry the settings. So then I was able to play up until you get to like that hub.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's kind of like almost like Destiny. Yeah. And that's where I got to the point where I'm like, this is really good. Like, I have no complaints about it. I think it's fantastic. It's Diablo. It's what you want it to be. But I got to that point and just had the realization of like, none of this is going to translate to the final game, so I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
So, I get the point.
Yeah, I didn't have it. Like, it's funny because I played that same night, but I got home and I downloaded it on my PlayStation, let it do its thing, and then it was like, let's hop in the queue now, and maybe I'll go do something else for a little bit. My queue time was like 9 minutes. It was not even a problem. So and it wasn't that much later.
So one of the things I read on Reddit while I was trying to figure out the language thing was that people that got codes through KFC were getting in sooner. Than people that played in the game. Yeah.
That paid off for me.
Maybe it's like they doubled down.
Your spicy chicken sandwich, helped you out that day.
Yeah, so it was like 9 minutes, and it's funny because I did have to go to a different website to enter the code. So maybe there is something to it. Yeah. But I did the same thing as you. I made a character. I was impressed with how much there was to like kind of make your character look like. Does it matter in the long run of that game? Not really, because the way the view is, you can't really see.
You can't really see.
Yeah, you're putting on armor and switching stuff all the time, so it's more for like your own benefit, which is fine. And then I went and just kind of played through it up until I think I got to like whatever the second little like town area is, because there's like the hub world. Picked up some quests and did those and ran around, and it was fun running around with other people on like the open world and like doing the little event things that were going on.
Yeah.
And kind of like walking near each other because you could tell we were doing the same quest. I didn't actually get in like a party or anything, but I just went around and explored and killed stuff. And we talked about it a little bit. Those like half spider people things are awful.
Fuck those. No, I don't like spiders.
Like spider area of that game is terrible. It is like little ones, there's big ones, there's spider people.
So the way I can describe it is like a person walking normally, but then the spider is like controlling it. Like its body is over.
It's like half. Yeah. It's
like, because the first time I saw it, I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at? And then when I fought a second one, I'm like, this is some real fucking nightmare fuel.
Yeah. And there's just a whole bunch of them, and you got to go through that little cave. And
that cave sucks.
Yeah. But they have a lot of cool, like I guess you would say like interesting, like traversal things where like you can just kind of go up to the next part just by picking it, your personal climb the wall. I got to like level 9 or so, and then I think we were talking
It's
about
about what I got to.
Yeah, and if it's not going to transfer over, I don't necessarily care. Because I know what the game is. I just kind of wanted to see. Like, for better or worse, it is, like you said, it's literally Diablo.
More
like,
Diablo.
It's not, this isn't going to change your, like, expectations or like, idea of what Diablo is. If you've played one before or seen people play it before, that is what this is. That being said, that's perfectly fine because that's what I want.
No, that's what I'm going to the game
like,
for Diablo.
The idea of like world bosses and all that stuff is much more interesting to me than
it is.
Than like Diablo 3 is a fantastic game, but this adds a layer to it where I like being in games, running around, seeing other people do stuff. Like I like playing games like Phantasy Star where you're in an area, other people around doing stuff. You can kind of work together if you have the same goal, but you don't have to join a party or anything like that.
Exactly.
So yeah, I might go back and play more this weekend just because even though progress doesn't transfer, there are a couple things you get where it's like reach level 20, reach the first town. It's like titles and stuff, but I don't know. Part of me is okay with doing it, but part of me is like, I'm just gonna have to do it again in 3 months. So is that enough reason? Maybe I'll screw around with another character, but I really, really like it. It controls well. An important note that they changed is like the infinite dodge roll is gone, which is
there's no more dodge roll, but everybody has a dodge like dedicated button.
It makes sense that it's gone. Like you probably shouldn't have infinite dodge rolls. So now it's just like a skill where you get to use it like every 5 seconds. That's fine.
Okay,
but it's a dedicated button. Like you don't. The important thing is you don't have to unlock it.
No, it's
so there. It doesn't take up a skill slot, which is nice.
Yeah, and then skill tree looks good, and a barbarian. The amount of equipment a barbarian can equip is insane. Like you can have
absurd.
2 small weapons, a big weapon, like a big club, and then like there's all these different skills for each.
That's why I want to try the necromancer this weekend because I just want to see how different it is in comparison.
Well, and that's the other fun of Diablo is to have multiple characters and play through all of them.
Yeah,
figure out which one you like and do a permadeath run and really hate yourself at a certain point.
I really like 3 a lot, but 3 has
incredible.
Like 3 has more of an almost cartoonish look. Like this is back to like this is fucking dark and gritty.
Yeah,
the devil's here.
This is a very dark. The cutscenes and stuff you go through, like when you get to that first little like area with like the church. Yeah, that part's rough.
It's really harsh,
but it's cool. It's exactly what I want it to be.
Very M-rated.
But and that's the kind of game too where now that this one comes out, they can make this one last for its
another decade. Yeah,
right.
So we have to make another one
if they ever have to. But a great game. I like it. I'll play it again. And then
I'm excited to try it out this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's the thing is like. Everybody can play it this weekend, which is good because they really got to test those servers.
They really need to test those servers.
Once I was in,
never had a problem when I was in.
Zero problems of any kind. No like weird loads. No stuttering.
It just seems like that first like day into the night, like I'd say early evening was rough. But again, that's to be expected. This is a huge release this year. It's Diablo. It's a new Diablo after 10 years. People are waiting.
Yes.
So
especially after 3 was so popular.
3 and even 3 had its problems when it launched, especially with that like paid money house. What was that thing called?
The auction house.
The auction house.
That was terrible.
So I remember that, that was a big problem of the game, and that was gone by the time it came to consoles. So but the other thing, so I did look into it just to point out, and this is part of it. So it is crossplay between PC and Xbox, but not PlayStation and Xbox.
Interesting.
At least the beta. Now that could change. But Sony's not really, friendly with Microsoft right now, so I don't know. But they've never, as far as I know, they've never let a Diablo game be crossplay with PC and a console before. So that part of it is pretty cool. So but maybe down the road, if
I think eventually
when the Activision deal goes through, maybe there'll be a Play Anywhere version of this game.
I think it will be. I think it'll all connect at some point.
I think that this is Diablo. I think they'll figure it out. It is to lock out a major console,
especially when other stupid games like Fortnite and shit do it.
Yeah,
Diablo's where we're going to draw the line. Like, come on.
exactly. So, but that wraps up what I've been playing. So I will turn it over to you, Dan.
Yeah, so the other major thing I really played a lot of was I've been working on Lost Judgment and finally finished the story in that game. Man, we talked about it back when I first started it, and then a little bit later, where that game's originally about some guy got arrested for like harassing a woman on a train, but he was also in another place at another time, like killing this guy who bullied his son. So like the whole thing is like, could he have been in two places at once? And then you go to work at this school and you're investigating bullies, and like as this story goes on, the twists and turns it takes, man, are wild. Like I don't want to spoil anything, but there are multiple like points in that thing where they're like, oh, by the way, this is how this went down, and you're like, holy shit. And then like the next chapter they add like another part in there. It's like, oh, you remember this guy? He's tied to this person in this way. You're like, oh my God. Like it's just like reveal after reveal. Like every chapter from like 8 to the end of the game, another reveal, another reveal. Oh, this guy was actually this guy the whole time. And you're like, what is going on? Like, it's so weird to play through the story, but it's so good. There's one chapter in particular towards the end where half of it, you're just in the courtroom, like being a lawyer and asking questions.
That's cool.
And it's all just a story.
It's pretty dope.
It's really cool. And then, then like this other guy comes in to talk to you. He's like, if you keep pushing this, we're going to take it. And your guy's like, fuck you, I'm going for it. And it's just cool.
So do you have the dialogue options?
You kind of do, but it's more so to just kind of like figure to understand.
So it's not like Ace Attorney or something.
A little bit because you do have to like, what piece of evidence do I have would prove this wrong? And you've got like 10 things, and you have to kind of think about it. There's no fail state for it. Like if you pick the wrong thing, it doesn't end. Because that would be stupid, because you would just have to restart the chapter to pick something else.
Yeah.
He just makes a point where he's like, oh, that's not what I meant to pick. I meant to pick this and need to do something else. So it's kind of stupid, but it's really good for like the narrative part of the game. And then, so I finished the story, which was really good. I really liked that game a lot. And then now I'm just kind of in like the cleanup where when you beat that game, what's nice is you can make a clear file and then you could load it up and just kind of do whatever you didn't do. There's nothing's visible. So you can load it up and play whatever you want.
It's not like a new game plus. It's just like endless mode.
No, because there actually is a new game plus. This is endless mode. Yeah. So now I'm going through, and part of the thing is when you go to work at the school, you become this advisor, all these clubs. I've talked about it before. Like you work for the dance club, but now I'm also like the advisor to the robotics club, and you actually have to play this like little game where you control a robot on a map and like pick up pieces and put them down and stuff. And then there's another part where like you have to investigate this like skateboard club. So then you literally go to like a little skate park and you're like they jumping off or grinding on rails and beating scores in their skateboard races.
Fantastic. Oh, that's pretty dope.
Almost like Mario Kart, which is weird.
That's cool.
There's one where it's like you join a boxing gym and it literally becomes like a boxing game, where you have to fight all these boxers to learn about this other case. The other one I finished was you have to go investigate this like bar where the whole point of it is to like become friends with all of the girls that work at the bar so that you can learn about this guy who goes there. And then by doing that, you can ask out the main girl there, and then she eventually can become your girlfriend. Like it's just the game is nuts. It's just so many different like games built on top of each other. This cool stuff I really like too, because instead of forcing you to be like you do all the dance ones and then you do all the robot ones, you get to a certain point where it locks you out and you can't continue it until you do some of the other ones.
Sure.
So you're kind of doing them all at the same time because it's leveling up your school like reputation in different areas.
Okay.
So it's to unlock the ability to do things. It's pretty good. And then the overarching thing is like all of these cases tie together by this one character.
Okay.
Called the Professor, which you're like trying to figure out who this person is.
Yeah.
How it contacts people. And then the weirder part is like throughout this whole thing, it references people from the first game, from the first Judgment game, and like some of them show up in this. And your character's just like, oh, I remember you. Aren't you that guy from this game? And then you like a cut back to that game.
That's cool.
So it's really like one giant story. It's really good. I think the only thing is like they kind of telegraph who the professor is. I'm pretty sure I know because there's this like thread going through all of them where it would make sense if this person is who it is.
Right.
Because every little step you take, you get another kind of clue about their identity, and it's all kind of falling into place. but it's still incredible. Like it gives that game so much more to do after. I could have done all of this before I finished the story, but since you could just do all of it after, it was kind of just finish the story and be done.
Yeah.
And then, I wanted to get this one off the plate because obviously a lot of stuff is coming, but then I really want to get into like the Yakuza games proper and
like start from the beginning. Or?
Yeah, well, I might do like a Dragon first just because it's a different game.
Okay.
But then I also want to play Shin at some point. So, I mean, there's so many of these fucking
games.
There
I've
are
said obviously early episodes of our podcast. It was when I was playing through that game. That game is incredible. And that was my first Yakuza game.
It's just the weirdest thing is like these games are so good. And the thing about them for being as like Japanese as they are, and understand they are very Japanese games.
Yes, very.
They are translated to English, like in terms of like
incredibly well.
Like I don't feel like I've missed a single thing.
No,
by playing this in English. The people who do that work are incredible,
top notch.
Yes, probably the best there are in terms.
But
of
I have both. When the original version of Judgment came out, I bought that on PS4, so I have that somewhere. But then I rebought it on Xbox,
PS5. Oh, Xbox.
And then I also have Lost Judgment. I think I picked it up last holiday time because it was one of those sales. It was like $20.
Yeah.
So I have that sealed.
Yeah,
somewhere.
They're great.
I do plan on playing both of them because obviously I'll start with the first one here.
This one, one, you're if you don't, it's a huge mistake. But
no, that makes sense.
But it's really good. I'm fingers crossed for a third one that we'll ever get it, but who knows at this point?
Yeah, well, with that actor,
I don't even know what that is anymore. So that's that. The other like newer stuff I played was there's that Chia game that just came out, which is you may have seen a little bit about it. It's about it's based off of this island in.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like now. By Australia, it's New
kind
Caledonia.
of Breath of the Wild is
a little bit. You play as like a little girl, and it's not really a spoiler because it's like the first story beat.
It's on Plus Extra, right? Yeah. Like the extra version. Okay.
Got it for free. You play this little girl, and again, it's not really a spoiler because it's the major like first story beat, but like her dad gets taken away, and then the game is kind of like
the point of the game.
Yeah, kind of. I haven't played much. I've only played like an hour and a half.
It's very colorful from what I've seen.
Like
it's on island. Okay,
it's beautiful. The water in this game is
okay. That would get me to play it.
Yeah, and then like you can actually like go under the water and swim around. And there's like you can craft stuff, and there's stuff to find. You get a glider. You can climb to lookout points, and instead of like looking, she shouts, and that's how like it opens the map up and stuff.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It looks
interesting,
amazing. And it controls fun.
I should install it.
It's good for like a game that's included in Plus.
Yeah, because I think this is the first time that they've done a premium Plus game since Stray last year.
I think so.
Like Day
one
and
that
Date,
was like
which is cool.
The original.
Yeah. So, which is cool. This is around the time to do it because, like, I know my subscription for that is coming up next month, and I think a lot of people's probably are.
Oh, that's right.
That's a good. Yeah, it's a good time to do that to get people like, hey, you sure you want to leave? So it's a good time for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I'll probably redo it. I use that service enough to justify it.
I've used it more than I thought I would. To be fair.
Yeah.
And this game is really good. Like I said. Barely scratch the surface of it, but I'm gonna probably play through it just to have fun and run around. And then the last major thing is like Kyle said at the beginning, or I said was today is the first day of MLB like early access. I've played like an hour and went through and made my team and opened all my card packs and all because I got the bonus edition, so I had to sort all that stuff out. I cannot believe I got it the day of release, considering I ordered it from GameStop, which who the hell knows when you get reserves from them, but sure enough, I got it.
Because I didn't. I'll tell you the game that I ordered from them that came out today, which is not Resident Evil, did not come today.
Yeah,
so you got lucky.
I can't believe it.
Maybe they pushed it only because it was early access, and they probably were like, "Come on."
So
there's a reason why this person paid for this. I
hope so, because my real fear would that it would be here Monday, that would defeat the purpose.
Yeah,
right.
It would.
I'd like to play it this weekend and get more into it. Early impressions. I buy baseball every year. It's baseball. They've changed. I talked about it a little bit when we did the tech stuff. Like they've changed the throwing, which is still taking me a while to get used to, but I like it a lot more because it's harder. You know, like you're prone to throwing the ball away or whatever when you're trying to throw it to a base, and just having to get used to it is better. Haven't run into any problems. The only thing I don't like really every year I get these games is it knows that I've played past ones because I get bonuses for having done that. Because clearly I have a save file or maybe on their server side that I've played it. But it still feels the need to walk me through everything.
Oh.
Like, here's Diamond Dynasty. It's like, yeah, man, I know. Like, if there's one person out there, it's me. Because I bought the collector's edition of this every possible year to get this stuff so I can play that mode a lot. You do not have to explain it to me. Like, they've changed a couple of things here and there, but I'm smart enough to figure that out on my own because it literally just walked me through the same stuff. It's like, here's how you play a game. Here's how you make your jersey. It's like, yeah, man, I know. I've done it.
Been there.
Yeah, like, man, there's this – that game never changes as much as it should. And we talked about it last time, and it's this time, but like, because it's still a PS4 game. I had to do the same bullshit, put on my disc – redeem my PS5 upgrade, and then now on my home screen because the PS4 disc is in there. There's a PS4 icon and a PS5 icon, and it's just like you don't need to show me both. I know I can hide it, but it's ridiculous.
No, that still is a problem with the PS5.
I get why they do it because like they obviously don't want to segment like the PS4 version and the PS5 versions.
Yeah,
especially if it's still on Switch and Xbox. Like they're not going to be done making a PS4 version this anytime soon. But
no.
I was hoping it would be close, but maybe next year. But that's it for me.
Well, what about you, Matt?
Well, to roll off of what you were saying there, Dan, I actually downloaded that on Game Pass, MLB. So I was like, after you talk about it so much, I was like, you know what? Let me run a little bit of this. I haven't played baseball.
It's free.
Exactly.
You should, yeah.
So I was like, man, I haven't ran a baseball game since King Griffey on Super Nintendo. So like,
hey, that's a great game.
Yeah. So I was like, let me go ahead and pop this in. Let me give it a shot. So I have that. I was thinking about running it too. Nothing new for me. I still working on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'll probably be there forever. However,
hey man, you're still going though.
That's the important thing,
right? I'm staying focused, so that's what I'm positive on. I will say though, I did decide to go back and start trying to see if maybe I can 100% Shadows of War. I don't know if you guys ever played that.
Yeah,
but that game is like still pretty good for me. Like I think it's fantastic.
That's the second one, or the
it's the second installment because the first one was Shadows of Mordor.
Okay. I 100% that first one when it came out. That was a great game because that was the game. And I'm surprised not many games ever copied that Nemesis system.
Nobody did.
Like, dude, Assassin's Creed.
So good.
Assassin's Creed has like a tiny bit of it. Yeah.
A version of it, I would say. But like, nobody ever did.
Not at all.
Like, it's one of the craziest things to me. Like, still, they could have fucking put that in a Batman game.
Yeah.
It's the same, you know what I mean? Like, they use the same combat. So, but they never did anything with it, which is wild. And from my understanding, and I've not played Shadows of War. I remember buying it that Black Friday. I still have it sealed. I just for whatever reason I never got around to playing it. But I assume that the Nemesis system is even more expanded in that, right?
Oh,
Shadows of War. Okay,
dude, it's so funny. So like, I remember buying Shadows of Mordor when it was like, I think a Black Friday item. I had just bought my PS4 and I was like, let me just buy another random game to go ahead and just start playing something else. And I fell in love with that first one. I was like, man, this game is so much fun. So when Shadows of War got put out, I went ahead and bought the collector's edition of that.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, there's that whole Nemesis system is so interesting and like fantastic. I remember killing this same orc or Uruk-hai at least 6 times.
Yeah.
Like he literally kept coming back. And he was like
back with the scars and like
came back with scars, came back with it half his arm was gone. He had like a twig arm. Like homeboy was dedicated because like he would ambush me and he'd be like, remember me, bugger. And I'm like,
and I don't know if this is the same for Shadow of the War, but I know in that first one, like Nolan North did all those voices. So it's just Nolan North having fun, like with that penguin voice from Arkham City. Just that's how he voiced all those orcs, like to varying degrees. But yeah,
it's so fun, man. Like it's cool to see like that aspect of someone remembering you or remembering killing you, or even you remember killing them.
Well, they make it like a cinematic thing. So like you'll be in the middle of a battle and all of a sudden it'll be like a cutscene and they'll fucking like all of a sudden you'll hear someone like the favorite one I remember from the first game was like he would use the word man swine a lot. So like all of a sudden like I'd be fighting somebody here you go man swine and they would literally zoom in on him. It's like this cinematic like Metal Gear Solid style like boss introduction and it'll show his like fucking name and like it's great. So if that's what like I should probably play the second one because like
I absolutely
that first one was amazing for that.
And so I when I bought the collector's edition, it has 2 DLCs and I never ran them. So I was like, let me just go ahead and run them because I want to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey through, but I want to also be doing something else. So I was like, let me just go ahead and run this too. So I plugged that back in and I started playing one of the DLCs. And then I went back to the main story because I saw it was at 84%. And I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and 100 this real quick. And then I can finish this DLC out. And then I can still be playing Assassin's Creed whenever I get free time. So that's what I put back in. I did download Street Fighter Duel on mobile.
Okay.
It's nowhere. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. I can say that.
Okay.
I just don't like the way it plays. And that's just me. It's kind of like, it feels like a lot of those mobile games right now. I think I saw one that Doom has one right now too.
Okay.
And they all feel like, it's kind of like an RPG game, but it's not really. They're trying to make it like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. I could just say that much. But, yep, that's me in a nutshell this past 2 weeks. I haven't really been in anything.
Okay, well, we can jump into news because there's a lot.
Yeah, there is.
We have a good chunk of emails this week as well, but we have news to talk about. There's things are happening as they always are. This first news article I put in here, I just think is bullshit. That's why I put it in here, which is Nintendo's Doug Bowser says Tears of the Kingdom's $70 price reflects its full, deeply immersive experience. Like, no, it doesn't. Like, it should be $10 more.
Well, I mean, remember though, when the Switch first came out, you were paying the Switch tax on a lot of stuff.
You were.
Remember? Like, you were paying $10 more for the same game on Switch, even though it wasn't even necessarily any good. Yeah, because you were paying for the cartridge. Like, if there's one game that can get away with this,
it is.
Like, it's obvious that it's this.
It's not going to, as we've discussed when this was originally announced, it literally is not going to deter a single person from playing this game. That's $10 more. Will people like me bitch about it every time I can? Sure, but I'm not going to not buy it and play it.
It's a shitty way to like try to justify it. Like, I would tell you that realistically, you don't even have to justify it, man. Like, it's $70. It is what it is. You're buying PS5 games at $70. You can pay us $70 for the marquee game on the system. Yeah, fine, whatever. Sure. We'll suck it up and we'll move along. It's the problem is if it becomes standard, where like the next Mario game is $70 if there is one.
Well, because again, like as I pointed out, Pikmin is the next game in July, and that, or was it? I think it's July. Yeah, that is 60.
Yeah,
that is not 70,
because Pikmin.
Could they change it before then? Sure,
they won't. They won't. I think the only other game that's possible is a Mario game, and even then, like you'd have a harder time selling a $70 Mario game than you would a Zelda game.
Do you think, given this is literally the year of Mario, we're gonna have this movie coming out, that there is a Mario Odyssey 2 or something? Because you would think they would want to capitalize on that. Like, you literally have a fucking Mario Brothers movie in the theater, an animated for kids. Yes, you can go, hey, there's Mario Odyssey. Like, there's a long history of Mario, but you would think they would have something new maybe this fall. That's what I've been thinking recently. I mean, you would think, like, here's Odyssey 2. You could do it. Like, there's still time to do that. Like,
it's been long enough. Like,
Nintendo doesn't
getting a Switch Pro anytime soon. I don't think.
That's very clear.
So what if they do something like after, let's say they roll the credits on Mario in theaters,
okay,
and all of a sudden it's like something plays trailer? Into. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't think
they would announce it there because they couldn't keep it a secret.
No, that's the problem. Yeah, people that go to unless they keep that off prints of like early showings of that movie,
they couldn't control the release of that knowledge.
That is really cool, but the problem is that would be spoiled literally the minute that movie comes out. I think
if anything, that movie, like the cut of that movie at the end is like a character who's not in it shows up in like a little sequence at the end, and like there you go. Like maybe like
Waluigi.
Well, there's that, or like I told you, like Wario gets on his motorcycle and rides in or something. Or they show something, or they do something crazy where like, he beats Bowser at the end, and then like you get a final cut of like Wart is there at the end.
Okay.
And
I can see that.
And so like, you know what I mean? Where it leads into like 2. So that would be a cool idea. But I think if there is a Mario game coming, it's probably an Odyssey 2 because you remember the last time they released 2 Mario games on the same system was the Wii. At least in terms of like 3D adventure.
Galaxy 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
You're right.
It's easier for them to just be like, hey, here's more Odyssey as opposed to here's a new game.
I wouldn't complain about another Odyssey.
It's like after Odyssey, where the fuck do we go from here?
Yeah.
Like,
it's Odyssey 2.
What is the next version of a
Mario
game?
Because I don't know. It's an incredible game.
The next Mario game would have to be like an actual open world at this point for it to be different from
Sonic's done it now.
Like Sonic has done it, but I think part of the charm of Mario is like you go to different lands by going to different places, like paintings or the planets,
warps,
or like.
I mean, they could do it. They could do it like Sonic Frontiers works, where it's one big open world. But again, it works like a Mario game. Like you find different levels, and then you go do those, and those are like classic Sonic levels. So that's probably what they would do.
I just don't know.
I would imagine.
I think the easiest thing to do and the best thing to do is just make an Odyssey 2 where it's more.
That's what I
for him
think
to explore.
But like they have to have something this fall. Like like the more I think about it, because like again, it's really easy to go, well, let's say it's like for whatever reason, let's say you took your kid to see this movie and they don't know who Mario is.
Right.
For some reason they live under a rock, they've never heard of Nintendo, and now the kid wants to play Mario. Are there games for that kid to play? Absolutely. But you don't have a new one to get people excited.
Maybe the other way they could go is they could like Mario Maker 3 is a possibility.
That is a possibility.
They can't deny, like, obviously the weirder thing about those games is they shut them off pretty quick.
They do.
But they cannot deny the fact that Mario Maker 2 is still insanely popular on like Twitch.
It is insanely popular.
I watch people play it still because it's so fascinating to me. The kind of shit people.
I'm in the same boat where I have more fun watching people play like
because
this crazy shit.
My brain can't comprehend like the way that these people make. Like they make contraption in this game that can detect when Mario is facing certain directions or when he jumps. It is unbelievable. So they can't deny the impact that franchise has had. And like obviously they don't support 2 anymore.
Yeah,
maybe there is a 3 coming, and maybe 3 is finally like. And for the first time, there's a Mario 64 maker where like you can pick,
that'd be cool.
You could pick
3D Mario Maker,
where you could pick like an open part, like the battlefield is one or something, and it's not huge, but you can place mountains and you can place question blocks, you can place the coins. So like that would be like the next step in that franchise, and man, the shit people would make in that.
Wild.
Whoa. Wild. That would be insane. But so maybe there is something coming. I mean, we've talked about it before. They hate to announce stuff until like 4 months before.
Yeah, right. I think the E3 time is when you're going to get something, because they haven't even like we have no idea what their fall is at all.
Right.
But they're going to want to continue to capitalize on this.
Mario Maker could be the kind of thing where like at E3 they play a little trailer and then he runs out on the screen and it goes August 15th and then he just walks out. And,
so you have to wait until August 15th to find out. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's just there's the thing about Mario is they can go any way they want. They have multiple ways to do it. Obviously, there's no Mario Kart coming, which
we've determined Mario Kart 8 is just going to get all these levels and it'd be
and then eventually
the Mario Karts in 64.
And then eventually, when that's all the levels are out, they'll just rename it to like Mario Kart Final or something, and then
Mario Kart 8 Ultra or something. Yeah.
I
can see that.
Where does that game go from here?
What do you do? Yeah, what do you do with the Mario Kart 9 on this system? You don't.
There's no point. That would have to save it for the next one. So, but you're right.
Mario Maker with Mario Kart?
Kart Maker? Oh my god!
Yeah, Kart Maker.
Mario
there you
Kart
go.
Maker.
That'd be
Mario
now
Kart
we're
Maker.
talking. Yeah.
So, but make Mario Maker 3, and then all right. So maybe we don't get like the 64 aspect. But
sure.
Like Mario Kart, and you could, but make it would have to be simple. So it would have to be like Super Nintendo.
That's
like,
what I was saying.
It'd be like
that's
Super
what I was
Mario
thinking,
Maker, and then you would have like you could make the tracks and place the items and all that kind of stuff. And the thing about that is it wouldn't have to be super like big and robust if it's just a Super Mario Kart Maker. You don't have to like
wouldn't have to be
and stuff. That would be an awesome like addition.
That'd be cool.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I was reading today that movie. Now they're projecting 85 million opening weekend. I think it'll beat that weekend because they moved it up. Remember, 2 days ago. It's April 5th.
That's gonna be nuts.
It's gonna be nuts.
That movie's gonna explode theaters.
I should probably buy tickets for that at this point. I know you did. I have not. So, next one I put on here. We've known for a while this was coming because Microsoft bought Bethesda, but Ghostwire Tokyo is finally coming to Xbox and coming to Game Pass on April 12th. They are also doing a major free update for that game, so people that have it on PlayStation, since it was exclusive there for the last year or whatever, they will get all the benefits of the update. They're going to get all that stuff too. I played a little bit of this on PS5 and then said, I'll wait till it comes to Xbox, and I will play it here. It's a fascinating game. As I told you, Dan, it's one you would really like.
I'm going to play it. It has a lot of that. Plus.
It's on, and that's the other thing to point out. It is now on PlayStation Plus Premium. So
okay.
Because it why not? It's on Game Pass, So,
right.
But it's a fascinating game. It has a lot of the Murdered Soul Suspect elements to it. I think you'd really enjoy.
I love that game,
but a lot more combat heavy than I would say Murdered Soul Suspect. That wasn't a very combat heavy game.
Well,
it's cool.
The parts where you were forced to, where they were kind of lame, but.
It is really cool.
Okay.
It's not there are creepy elements to it, sure, but it's very much not like I would call a scary game. It reminds me of something like The Frighteners or like stuff like that. So you will be fine.
I love Frighteners.
I think you'll really get a lot out of it. So.
Yeah, I saw it pop up on Premium. Like that's definitely on like a list of stuff to play.
Yeah. I put this in here for Castlevania fans, Project Zircon, which and Zircon, and hopefully I'm saying that correctly, but that is a weapon from Symphony of the Night. It's the little arrow thing that flies around. So they are working on something codenamed Project Zircon. Obviously, we've talked about they've trademarked this. They're making a new Castlevania. What it is, I don't know. Like I said before, if I were to put any money on anything, give it to the people that make Dead Cells. They just made this DLC. Yeah. They could make a fantastic 2D Castlevania that would make a lot of fans happy. For me, I'd like to see them go crazy and make a new 3D one, like Lords of Shit, like bigger than that. Like go nuts. Will they do that? I don't think so. I think they keep it small scale. But if there was ever a good way to reintroduce people, this Dead Cells DLC, as we talked last episode, a great way to reintroduce people to Castlevania. I cannot wait to see what this is. We'll find out soon.
Yeah.
It's definitely an E3 reveal.
Sure.
So,
for sure.
I put this on here because this is cool. I'll totally buy one of these because I bought the original Xbox one. But Hyperkin is making an Xbox 360 controller. So like a replica of that, but it works on, modern Xbox.
Yeah, it's an S
Am I going to actually...
Right?
Am I going to use it? Probably not, because like the improvements are so good with these controllers today from that one. It's time to put that in the past. But I'll buy it to put next to my original Xbox controller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right now they're only making white, which makes sense because the original system was white. So, but it's a cool thing. This I put in here because I just thought this was hilarious because it shows how out of touch these lawyers are during this Activision, Blizzard, Sony, Microsoft bullshit. But at some point there was a reference to maybe possibly PlayStation or Sony was making a Superman exclusive game, which basically what happened is somebody read something wrong and it snowballed for like half a day that, Sony was going to do that. No, they weren't.
The closest thing I could even conceive of where that came from was there was a long time. Remember when Rocksteady everybody thought they were going to make a Superman game, and because they had a partnership kind of thing with PlayStation, that's the only place this rumor could have come from, right? But like that was the big thing,
that
like,
type of thing.
Because remember after Batman, it was like they're gonna make Superman game next, and you and I were like, okay, let's make a Superman.
I would love a Superman.
I would love a Superman game.
It is time,
but they're having other problems.
Do it.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, somebody put out like an Unreal demo of what a Superman game could look like.
I would assume you played Superman Returns on the 360.
I did. It was okay.
I thought it was good. I thought it was
not Superman 64 bad. It's not a great game, but like
you felt
what it was.
It felt like Superman.
It's better than that movie. Let's put it that way.
I mean,
I do not like that movie.
But I would argue in that game, like you felt like Superman, like you were flying around, picking up cars and throwing shit.
Absolutely.
And, my hope was, Rocksteady would make it and it would just like be something like that, like blown up. But
that's what I was hoping for. So even after Arkham Knight, I mean, obviously we know what they're doing, but that was my hope, was like, let's do a Superman.
Let's do something else. Yeah, like anything else. But this, like the fact that this comes up in this, and I just thought everybody's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
It just shows that a lot of these guys are just doing the same thing a lot of like we do and a lot of other people do. It's like, let's get on the internet and search for actors, what they did. Like,
what they did, yeah. I know you put this in here. Final Fantasy 16 hot news. The main game should take 30 to 35 hours for the story and 80 hours to do everything. That falls in line with the Final Fantasy modern.
Those numbers are horseshit, because every time
they probably are.
Every time, like
somebody will beat it in 20.
Every time an RPG number comes out where it's like it'll be X and is for the story and like this much longer for the side stuff. That's horseshit. Yeah. 30 to 35 for the story. I would guess maybe if you watched every cutscene fully through and you kind of took your time to play through the story, maybe that's okay. But 80 hours to do everything makes no sense, because it contradicts the stuff that he said already. Where like there's no optional like dungeons or anything like that. So then what? Then you're trying to tell me that there's 40 extra hours of content, but there's nothing optional? That doesn't make any sense. Like 15 had a lot of stuff to do after, but
a lot of stuff,
but it didn't double the length of the game.
No.
So I don't really get, like, those numbers are dumb. Like if it's 30 to 35 for the story, I'll be done in probably 25. And then for 100% when doing everything, I'll probably be done in around 50 at the most. But 80 is absurd. They just throw these numbers out.
You saw this week that people were upset because they're doing the same thing from 15, where you squeeze through the rocks to get to a level because it's like a hidden loading screen. Like, who cares? Like, I don't know. I really liked 15 when I went back and played it a couple years ago.
I replayed it like
when the pandemic first started.
Yeah, I replayed it during the pandemic. Yeah, that game is so much better than people give it credit for.
Today, it's fantastic.
I enjoyed it. I will say, like, I played through the first time and enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more the second time.
Yeah.
The story in that game is a little weird when you played the first time. If you're not on it, but like, it definitely made more sense the second time as to what's actually happening.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, but a lot of Final Fantasy games are like that. Like, even my favorite one, like 12, is kind of like that, where if you're not really paying super attention when you play through that game, it will not make a lot of sense as to what's going on. But then when you replay it, you're like, oh, okay, because they talk about it before. And but like 15 turned out to be really good. And we've talked about, like, the guys who work on 16 worked on 14 and 12.
Yeah.
Those are both very good.
Well, they're also, like, I like that they're going back to the fantasy setting, because those are my favorite settings for Final Fantasy, with 7 obviously notwithstanding, but I always like the fantasy setting for most things anyway, so I'm excited, and it's the right time to go back to that setting. Well, we've had enough that are futuristic or modern, and this is a good time. Plus, it just looks incredible. Those summons look insane.
Everybody keeps shitting on it because they think, like, oh, it's Devil May Cry. It's like, you can't tell me me now that if we went straight back to turn-based, people would like that more.
It's not like anymore. What was the meme you sent me of the kid, the Malcolm in the Middle? The little kid was like, "Welcome to the future, old man."
Yeah,
it's like the picture. It's because it's not turn-based.
Like, we can't. Like, as much as I still like turn-based games, and the thing is those games still exist. You can go find them and go play them.
Yeah, exactly.
This game can't be that anymore.
Go play a Persona game.
Go
they are turn-based.
Yeah, or go play Dragon Quest.
Exactly.
Dragon Quest is an amazing game.
It is.
It's a different game.
I should finish
11. 11 is so good. Shit, man.
Next thing I put on here.
Real quick, another side sad piece of Final Fantasy news. Final Fantasy 11 is officially being put into maintenance mode which means
it's over.
It's not over. It's still it's on, but
to that point where
they're going to do some tiny little content updates coming up, but it's done. Which, to be fair,
many people are active on that today?
I don't even know, because my problem with that game now is you still have to pay for it.
Well, the thing I would think is, like, at this point, now you have 14, which obviously we went through the bad period with that game. They fixed it. It's incredible. I think it is the number one MMO now. Like,
it has to be.
Warcraft, it has to be. So I would think at this point you have captured those people that were on 11.
My thing with 11 is like 11 holds a special place for me just because I played it a lot in a time of my life that was pretty difficult, and like it was a good way for me to like escape from a very serious thing that was going on. But then it's just the thing is like, would I love to check in on it? I absolutely would, because I never deleted my character.
You don't want to pay,
but I don't want to pay for it, like, because I'm already paying for 14, and I only kind of play that.
So to answer your question, I did Google that real quick.
Yeah.
And they say they estimate a daily player count of 26,000 people.
Okay.
That seems low, to be fair, but I get it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they got, every time a new patch update comes out, that number shoots up, and I can't log in for a whole fucking day.
Yeah. So as of March, as of this month, the amount of active players they have are 91,000.
You're talking about 11 or 14?
11.
Yeah.
Okay.
That seems like that's still a lot of people for a game that came out almost 20 years ago.
6?
Right.
Yeah.
It was on PS2, and it came with a fucking hard drive.
I remember it. Yeah, the hard drive. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I would love to check in and like and just see where it is, because obviously it's far different than when I quit 14 years ago at this point.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I'm not going to pay for it. Like, if it's in maintenance mode, I feel like the least you could do is at maintenance mode, because it is. I think at the time it was $12. It might be $15 now. Make it, like, cut the price. Come on, man.
Make it like
free.
$5.
Make it free, and like, if you're not going to touch it, make it free. Turn it on and just like, you guys go nuts. And then in 2026, we kill it.
We're turning it off. Yeah,
and we're turning it off.
Yeah,
because by that point, if you haven't moved on, I mean, wow,
it's been 20 years.
It would be super cool if they would let people go back and just play it, before it goes away, because it's going to go away soon. But that was just a quick thing I saw today, which made me sad from a nostalgia standpoint, because 11, I guess another one, a lot better than people gave it credit for, but everybody pissed on it because it was an MMO game called 11.
Did you ever, I'm assuming you played the 360 port of it.
I did.
I heard it was not a good port.
It was, if anything, it was comparable to the PS2 one, which doesn't make any fucking sense. But it's to a point where I was just on PC and I just modded the shit out of it.
Do you still have a copy of it for the 360?
Oh, absolutely. Of course.
Oh, okay.
I have every.
I figured you would. I need to find one just to have it.
Physical version of that game on every system it was released on.
I need to have it just for my 360 collection, because that's one you don't run across it. It's really hard to come by.
They're weird to come by, just because, especially on 360, it was. I don't
think it's sold very well.
3 of them on the 360.
Oh wow!
I need that, and I also need Phantasy Star Universe for 360 to have it as well. I played that as well. So.
You know what sucks about Phantasy Star Universe? I have the 360 one and I have the PS2 one, but somehow I ended up with. I'm missing a case for the expansion for the PS2 version. I don't know how that happened, so I just have the disc of that in the case for the other one. But
yeah,
how the fuck am I going to find that?
Next thing I put on here, it's very clear at this point that Shin Megami Tensei 5 is coming to modern consoles.
Sure,
it's been leaked enough. It's now the most recent thing is there was a leaked screenshot that shows like a Game Pass logo. It would make sense. They put all these other Persona games on Game Pass. Why wouldn't this come to Game Pass? There's supposed to be some big event in May. So that's kind of like rumored when it's going to be announced. I don't think it would hit day and date with it.
They probably do like they did the Persona ones, where it's like this one's now, this one's in a month.
So
and a half.
I was really pumped for. I played and beat 4 on the 3DS. I loved that game. 5, I was really excited about. Got it day one on the Switch. Got my little Steelbook. The frame rate is so bad on the Switch version. I couldn't make it through the first
I can't imagine.
hour. And I was like, man, I really hope like they put it at that point. I was like, I hope they just put it on PC. So at this point, if it comes to Xbox Game Pass, like I will play it right away.
Yeah.
I really like 4 a lot. That was my like entry into the other side of the Persona series. Cause like I only know that series from Persona. I didn't really know the Shin Megami games cause they weren't really prevalent like here until that 3DS one.
You had weird ones on PS2, but those were like the Devil Summoner ones.
Yeah, they weren't like mainline.
And you had Nocturne.
It's almost like a dark Pokemon. Like the way I would describe it. Like a very dark Pokemon.
I played the Devil Summoner on PS2. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool series. But I imagine that's going to happen. It's like one of the worst kept secrets right now.
They'll show up. If all the Persona games made it, these are coming too. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
I put this in here because I'm excited about it. Alien Dark Descent, which is the new Alien game that's coming out that is a XCOM-like game, has a launch of June 20th. I try every Alien game. I think we talked, a couple episodes ago, I told you like my favorite movie at this point of all time is Alien. I've watched that movie a lot. Mm-hmm. I look forward to this. Like, I will play every Alien. Is every Alien game good? No. But I will try this. I even thought Fireteam was okay. The little bit I played of it, it wasn't a bad game.
I don't know. I think an XCOM style game is a cool idea.
Is a good idea. So you can get a better way probably to make a Colonial Marines game based on those characters than what they did 10 years ago. So,
where you can stand in front of one and they just don't see you.
Well, remember the code in that game was broke because someone misspelled something.
Yes.
So you can go and fix that on the PC version. I think I saw this, but I think you put it in here. EA is delisting Battlefield 1943, Bad Company 1 and 2 in April, pulling online in December. It's bittersweet. Like for me, I was never a big Battlefield person, except for whatever reason.
Bad Company, man.
I wasn't even big on that.
I love Bad Company.
1943, when that came to like Summer of Arcade, whatever year that was, I want to say like 2009. Whole summer, that was like the one game I played that year.
Yeah, like these are bombers. Game. They're bombers, but they're old games. And like,
they're old.
To be fair, the way EA handles stuff, it is insane that they're still on.
Because it's Battlefield. I think that's why. Because it's one of their highest profile.
I do love Bad Company. I played a lot of Bad Company when it was out. Those are great games.
I played the first one, but I never played the second one.
I mean, what's nice about it is they're at least like, okay, well, you can't buy it anymore next month, but we'll keep it on until December.
Yeah, that's nice.
So you've got time to play it and be done.
Yeah. This was the wild thing of this week. Spider-Man 2 voice actor. It's Tony Todd. It's Candyman.
Yeah.
He basically put out there the sequel will be released in September. Oops. Then he kind of had to. Did he kind of like try to walk it back a little bit?
He
just
posted He posted a thing where he's like, "Well, never mind. I guess I shouldn't talk about it anymore."
But I mean, it makes sense. This should be 5 years from the last one. It makes absolute sense.
There's a lot of signs. Well, there's a lot of more signs that point to it now. Where back in January, Hasbro announced a Spider-Man 2 figure with him in the suit from the game. And like I thought to myself, I'm like, that's kind of early. And then literally like a couple days ago, the Miles Morales Spider-Man 2 figure got put up. So it's got to be close.
Yeah.
So I mean, otherwise these figures are over a year out ahead. Like that doesn't make any sense. And like September is a perfect time to release it. We talked about it a little bit amongst ourselves. Where name another game Sony has like this holiday,
this fall.
Yeah, it's this.
But if it's this, they don't need another game.
This is big enough.
This will sell. People will buy a system for this.
That's what I told you.
Because it's important to note, this game's only on PS5.
Yes. Bundle it, and and then sell the red faceplates separate so I can just buy a set of those.
Yeah.
And then there you go. And then it'll look nice.
Would you take that if it's red with like the white like spider logo?
Kinda like I have the PS4. Okay. It's sitting right next to it.
Isn't that how the PS4 is, right?
Yeah. It's all red and it's got the white spider on the front. What I would actually like is for it to be red, but have both of their logos on it. Because it's pretty clear that there's going to be, at the bare minimum, you can swap between them in this game.
Yeah.
My heart would love it if it was somehow co-op. I doubt it. That doesn't really make sense.
That would be awesome.
It'd be incredible, but I don't know if they would do that.
I think it's a swap.
I think it would be like swap, like maybe Miles does the stealth stuff in the game and you do, maybe they have certain parts they play out or at certain parts.
Right.
So like, there's a lot they can do with it. Obviously, I don't particularly. I know this as a huge Spider-Man fan. I don't particularly care for Venom as a character. Or at least I didn't for a long time. He's gotten better recently. Although the movies are trash, but
oh god,
they're bad. But
I never watched the second one.
But I would like to see the game lean into more Spider-Verse stuff, because obviously, like, that's the popular stuff. Like, there's a big.
Well, that movie's coming soon.
That movie comes soon too. Like, to put Gwen in the game would be huge. Or we save this stuff for 3, and that's fine too. But 3, it could be fun if 3 is like you're just playing as a shitload of Spider-Man.
But I mean, if this took 5 years,
I'd play a Spider-Man.
A while for a third one.
Well, I know, but maybe we get how they did Miles, where maybe we get like Spider-Man 2, and it's like a side story thing that was.
I think he'd probably
a smaller thing, because the Miles thing was fantastic, and it was more Spider-Man in a smaller package, and that was exactly what I needed after having replayed the first one.
Well, remember, the team that made Miles Morales is off making the Wolverine game, right?
Which I'm excited for that too.
That's probably next year.
The only thing that the Spider-Man game is going to disappoint me on is if it's just the same New York again. And I get it. I get it. He's based in New York, but this will be 3 straight games of the same map, and that doesn't work well in the long run.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Next story we actually did get an email on it, so I'm going to scroll down and read that first. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Okay. I hope I say the name of this town correctly, because I had to look this up after the email came through. So if I butcher the name of your town, I am sorry. This came from Jack from Orinda, California. He says, "Hey guys, I saw the recent news that GameStop posted its first profitable quarter in 2 years. Is this the start of a turnaround or just a one-off?" I mean, I can already tell, and Dan, I'm sure you agree with me, it's likely a one-off just because of all the layoffs.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said. Like, obviously you're going to be profitable if you fired a shitload of people. Like, you closed an entire, like, tech support arm of the company. That's all gone. How many people work there? Probably not a lot, to be fair. But that's all gone. Like, people are getting fired and not replaced, quitting and not being replaced.
I was in my GameStop today picking up something, and I had a chance to talk to the person working, because I've noticed the last couple times I've been there, I only see ever 2 people, and I can confirm today there are only 2 people that work at this store.
That's not surprising.
Which is not surprising.
So you're looking at stores that even the stores that are left have half of the staff they normally would.
Exactly.
So clearly, like, profits are going to be. It's important to note that, like, it was profitable, but it wasn't like as profitable as it was supposed to be, and it's still down compared to last year. So, like, it's not like they're growing; they're surviving, which is something they've been able to do for an incredibly long time. Like, but go to a GameStop and tell me that it looks like it's successful. You can't.
Exactly.
It's all clearance. It's all like they don't have games. Like, they finally have systems. That's the other thing.
That's the one thing.
That's the other thing.
You have systems.
Yeah, maybe they made money because they actually had systems in the fourth quarter. Yeah, like, that's another huge thing. Remember, what are some of the best years GameStop's ever had? System launches when they had systems. PS4 and Xbox One holiday. You better fucking believe every GameStop was making money, because we were selling. We could not keep shit.
You couldn't keep them in stock.
Controllers, headsets. What were the other things we couldn't keep in stock? Like, remotes for things, like, just everything.
Oh, you're talking about related. Like a media remote?
Yeah.
People,
it was just like,
for whatever reason.
So when they actually have stock of stuff, as opposed to last year when they barely had any, and the year it came out, they barely had any, and they had to force bundles on people. Yeah, you're going to be profitable.
Yeah, there's not really any of that now. Like, if you go into a store, like, they don't, like, because up until this point, you always had that, like, little part of the cash wrap where it'd be like, here's the bundle you can order online. Yeah, they don't really have that now because systems are everywhere.
They're everywhere, and now it's sell and try to do add-ons.
It's also important to note, I don't know if you noticed this, but that God of War bundle is actually on a sale right now.
First one.
It is $509.
Yeah, I had put that in. I put that in for later, but yeah, I mean, they could be part of this. Where
but
that's the thing is like, but that's the thing is like, so Sony is admitting they can't even sell that bundle.
Yeah, no, that's literally what that means. Because people want the system, but maybe necessarily don't want God of War.
Going back to GameStop, like, can they have more profitable quarters in the future? I'm sure they could here and there, depending. Like, there's not a lot of people left to fire. to make
You're down
that
to
up.
bare
But
minimum because you need somebody to open and close. So.
But when they start doing SL3s, that's another store leader salary they don't have to pay.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this was the thing that was funny because at some point while I was in the store today, the person that was working was on the phone, like how it used to be when you and I would be working, where they're on the phone probably talking to somebody else at a different GameStop.
Yeah,
but this was the thing the person was complaining about was, well, when am I able to take a day off? And I thought about that. Yeah, if there's only 2 people working in your store, when are those people getting a day off? They're not. They're literally working every day somehow. Like probably. So it's ridiculous. So,
but I mean, they're still focusing on collectibles and stuff, which we've talked about a lot of times. That's not the problem. Like selling that stuff is not the problem. But the problem is when they keep rotating the person out at the corporate level who handles collectibles. Where we brought in this lady who worked at Walmart. Have you ever walked into a Walmart? They're full of trash.
It's ridiculous. It's trash.
They're full of trash. So it's just, I don't know. Like, GameStop will keep hanging on. They're going to keep hanging on for a while. We've talked about it before. It's going to be something drastic that has to cause them to close, or where the Chewy decides he doesn't want to do it anymore, and he just says fuck it, and he sells the whole thing off to somebody else, and it becomes like Sears. Like, look at what happened to Sears.
That's what I think. Like the end goal will be here.
Yeah,
it's going to be a situation like that.
Think back to when we were kids, and like Sears was huge. Especially for me and Kyle, because we're like the home of Sears.
Yeah,
but like I can't tell you how many times my dad would take me to Sears on the fucking weekend, and then that guy took over and decided, what if we just really fuck Sears up? Yeah, and he drove it into the ground and tried to turn it into just a website. I could see GameStop becoming that because GameStop's arguably biggest competition these days is Amazon. Because if you go, like, you and I talk about Best Buy in terms of, like, you can reserve something at Best Buy and actually get it. Because they will get it sent to them. But if you go in there to just, like, shop for a video game, oh my God, it's terrible. Awful. That section shouldn't even exist.
It should.
All three systems are small enough where they could be in the same row.
Mm-hmm. It's literally like you walk into a Best Buy now, it's all appliances,
which is fine. That's where they make money. Have like services and phones.
They have maybe a couple like even the DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, like that section is stripped.
They're small.
There's a little bit, but it's not that. And then you have one part of the store that is still devoted to home theater and TVs and stuff.
Yeah,
you have your Apple section. And then you have a very, like, what used to be a prominent section was video games is now like maybe 2 aisles, if that.
It's weird.
Part of those 2 aisles are just collectibles and toys, kind of like GameStop.
If the shelves aren't empty. But the same thing is true if you go to Target. Target barely has video games. Walmart is the only place that has I would say a decent amount.
Pretty decent,
looking for something that had come out within the last month, you could
probably find it. Yeah.
But they also clearance shit like crazy and just don't care.
Yeah, they do. So, they do not give a shit, as we've learned.
Yeah.
And also, how much money could GameStop save if all they had was a website?
Right.
And only 4 people had to work on the website, and they had one distribution warehouse in the middle of the country.
Right.
Remember, because here's the other things, like they just shut down an entire distribution center.
Mm-hmm.
An entire one is gone.
Yeah.
Of course they're saving money.
Well. But yeah, no, it's wild to think. But I really think that's the future is going to be. It's going to be a website situation like Sears. That's what I think.
I mean, it would make sense for them if they had a functioning website. I got my baseball today, right? So I got my baseball today. Amazing that I did. My order still says awaiting product availability on the website.
Doesn't your Metroid still say that?
Yes.
You got that a while ago.
Both those games are at my house. They never even gave me a tracking number for baseball. They sent me an email yesterday saying your order's been processed.
Yeah, and that's what I got yesterday too, because I texted you about it, because I'm like, it says like my order is texted. It literally says ship, but I have no tracking number.
They never gave me any kind of information.
And if I go to like check it, it just says, it's being processed. I'm like, what does that
awaiting availability.
So it'll just show up one of these days. So like, here it is.
It would make sense for them to go website only if they had a functioning one.
Yeah. A lot needs to be worked on under the hood to make that relevant. So,
but look at Sears did it, and theirs barely worked. So, I mean, you tell me what it takes.
Next thing we have in here, and this is actually really cool. I did once I saw you text me, I watched the trailer. It looks fantastic. And the thing that I want to point out is this is the way to announce something, because it's literally out 2 months from now. This Lego racing game. What is it? Lego 2K Drive?
Lego 2K Drive. Yeah.
Okay. It looks fantastic.
It looks awesome.
So it looks like they took some of the ideas from what they did for DLCs for Horizon and just made it its own game.
There's that. There's like elements of like Burnout in it. There's elements of like Mario Kart in it. Like it just looks like everything. It's a fun game to play. The only thing I'll say is it seems a little too expensive, right? Like that shouldn't be a full.
Is it a full price?
It's
game?
a full price game. Okay. And the other problem is that there's a like $130 edition of this fucking game.
What does that come with?
Season pass shit. Like,
okay. I thought you were gonna say a little Lego minifig.
But like come on. No, you get an in-game minifig. Can't even give you a physical one.
Can't give you a physical one for those people that need that. Yeah.
Hey, if there was a minifig that was only available in there, I would consider it. But it looks super fun. But I also feel like it's a 2K game. 2K games go on sale like a lot.
Oh no, I would not buy this day one, because like by mid June, this comes out mid May. By mid June, this game will be
35, 40. If you wait till Christmas, you can get it for 30
easily. Mm-hmm. So, we have some Redfall news. So this week they had their first like previews of Redfall. So they gotta let a lot of people play.
This whole
Redfall,
thing is a shit show.
And there are parts of it a shit show. But the one thing about it I'll say is like most of the impressions of the game are very promising, which is cool. People seem to really like it.
Well, now they're also like they're even talking about, we're going to work on making it not online required.
And so the two things I put in here was they're going to remove the online requirement down the road for single player, which, I mean, that's once again Microsoft.
Okay.
People complain.
Sure.
Going, all right, sure, we'll fix it, but how is that going to work?
I don't think it's a reasonable request on most people's part, because the very nature of the game doesn't lend itself to playing by yourself.
And I was more taken aback that they were like, we're going to put in the work to do this. Yeah. Like I wouldn't spend the time to do that.
It does seem like it's a game that they probably want to support for a long time, and not just it comes out and this is what it is kind of a thing.
So, and then with this also, it came out that Redfall was in development for PS5. Obviously, the Bethesda deal went through, and I see two sides of this. I see people getting upset about it, but at the end of the day, as we've said before, the same thing happened with Starfield. That was probably in development for everything. It's a new franchise. Why wouldn't you make that exclusive when you just bought the company?
Well, and you're paying for it, and
you're paying for that.
Like the Bethesda stuff, like people can bitch, but like Deathloop, they bought Bethesda, and Deathloop was on PS5 for a year before they even got it, and they owned it.
And well, Deathloop got 10s out of 10s and did really well critically. That game did not sell very well.
No, they also never promised that when they bought Bethesda that everything was still going to be on PS5, because a lot of people were trying to compare the Activision thing, where they were actively saying like, we're not going to do this. We realize we're not going to do this. But they never said that with Bethesda. With Bethesda, they said after the Deathloop thing was over, and then I guess Ghostwire 2, they were like, we're going to look at it on like a case-by-case basis.
And it makes sense. A new franchise, why would you put
a new franchise we're paying for, we're going to put it on our system, especially if it's going to be on Game Pass. And like Starfield, why wouldn't we take the biggest one of these?
Microsoft has dumped a lot of money into Starfield and Redfall. So why would...
But we've also talked like, well, Starfield will be on Xbox PC only, but it'll also be on PC, but it'll be a Microsoft game. But like with Elder Scrolls, I really don't see them taking that away from PlayStation.
No, they won't, because it's an established
thing that exists. Like that would be a dumb one to do, but a brand new is fine.
Is that the version I would play? No,
I wouldn't.
As we know, they have a bad history with PlayStation ports, but they're not going to take it away.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like they try to liken the Bethesda to the Activision deal. They're not the same deal, like in any form. Like Sony didn't bitch up and down when Microsoft bought Bethesda. They didn't go fucking crazy and fly their private jets to different countries to try to shut it down.
Exactly. No, for sure. I thought this was cool because from the way I read this is outside of the grasp of limited run games. Xbox is actively helping indie developers create physical copies of their games. I think this is cool. Obviously, we want physical copies of games, especially indie ones, that maybe wouldn't get the chance. Obviously, Limited Run is a big company that, has done this for years. But as we've talked about on the podcast, and I hate to just sit here and shit on them, but they have their own problems, as we've discussed.
Like, well, then they put out that,
things out the door.
They put out that BS thing like a couple weeks ago. It's like, we're sorry, we're going to work on it. It's like, but they still haven't delivered on stuff that people ordered a year ago.
Maybe it took me almost 2 years to get something.
So maybe don't apologize about and say we're going to fix everything when you haven't even fixed it yet.
Yeah, maybe wait till it's fixed.
Like Jesus,
say, hey. So, but yeah. Next thing I put, this came out of nowhere, and I'm excited about this because I'm a fan of this franchise. I played a lot of the original and a little bit of like I guess we'll call it the interim version, but Counter-Strike 2 is coming. So, and to understand, they are just updating CSGO to be Counter-Strike 2. They're not it's not a new client. So anybody that has Counter-Strike Go will get this. It's going to be sometime this summer. But I'm excited about this. I played a shit ton of Counter-Strike when I was
the original
senior year of high school. Yeah, the original. I played a bit of Go. It was a good version. I always wanted them to make like an Xbox version of it, kind of like they did with the original, but they never did. Will it happen with Counter-Strike 2? Probably not, because I don't think Valve really cares.
It'd be funny if they did.
Fun though. But I always enjoyed Counter-Strike. Really, really good.
Yeah, I used to go to a very seedy internet cafe type situation to play Counter-Strike back in like high school, man. It was really awful building, but it was huge and it had a lot of beers in it and just smelled like smoke all the time.
But yeah, I'm excited. So I definitely will check that out over the summer. This next article I put here, I thought this was really cool. Seamus Black. Is it Seamus? What is his name? Seamus Blackley? Is that how you say it?
Oh, I don't remember.
The guy who helped, basically the godfather of the original Xbox system, was in talks at some point in the last couple of years with making a classic Xbox console, like the mini, Nintendos.
Oh man.
Obviously it fell through, but that would have been really cool. So, and there are there's as someone who actively now collects original Xbox, there are a ton of exclusive games for that system that are really awesome, that only ever came out on that system. So
it would be a fun little thing, like get maybe 20 games on there.
Yeah.
3 of them are Halo.
But yeah, it would be cool. How would they? I mean, they would probably have to put it out with the S version of the controller, right? They wouldn't put out the big Duke.
No, they wouldn't put out a Duke. Just you and I love it, but people hated it. They wouldn't do that.
No, people hated it. I love that controller. People hated it.
Yeah, that would be a fun mini console. Like I don't know how we have a different feeling about the original Xbox. I don't think a ton of people necessarily liked it and would be like a classic console, but it really kind of depends. Like again, Fable. What else could we get on there? Sadeki, you can get on there. That'd be cool.
Probably you could get that original like Phantom Dust on there. Probably people really like that. Otagi, if they really want to be hardcore.
Shit, there you go. Those are good.
They could do both of those.
Yeah, you could do both of those.
I'm
trying to think of
Fusion Frenzy.
Fusion Frenzy 1 and 2 would both be on there. Brute Force would be on there.
I could put Brute Force on there.
Man, do it. The Brute Force Classic console.
There's just a ton. Like as I collect for that system, because I've said before, we've talked about it, but like I didn't own an original Xbox until a year before the 360 came out, so I missed a ton of those exclusive games, and it's fun now going back. Not a lot of people collect for that right now, so the cost is lower than a lot of the other stuff.
When I started at Game Crazy in July of 2002. That was one of the first things we hooked up as like a demo unit on like the big TV in the corner.
Oh, that's cool.
I remember the first day we put in NFL Fever, which was that was the Microsoft NFL game. Because remember that was the dark times where everybody could make their own football game. So they had their own football game, and I actually played it, and I was like, man, this actually isn't bad. And then we put in Dead or Alive 3, and I was like, fuck, man, I'm buying an Xbox. That Dead or Alive game that still looks good 20 years later.
It does.
So yeah, I love the original Xbox. It's a great system. A classic would have been fun. but I don't think that'll ever happen.
I really don't think it's.
I would, happen, and to be honest, it's not the first one I would want. I would want a classic Dreamcast before anything else.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Hey man, Sega's weird.
I think there's a bigger chance because they've done the Genesis.
They did a Genesis. Sega's super weird. Make a Dreamcast. That would be great. Fuck, make a Saturn. Who cares? Do it all.
Final news article that's in here, and I didn't put this in here, so I don't know as much about it.
This looks good.
There's a new dark AAA Turtles game in development that's inspired by God of War.
Fucking right.
It's, like play style wise. So it's inspired by a comic series where in the future, all but one turtle.
It's that yeah.
All but one turtle is dead. And I'm not going to say who it is in case people don't want to know. But it's just a dark fucking Turtles game.
It's cool.
Hell yeah. That's one of those games that we're like, I really need that to be good though, because I don't want it to come out and just be one of those like, yeah, it's fine kind of games. Like I would love for it to be like we've proven that Turtles are back. Obviously, like the Shredder's Revenge is a great game. The movie's coming out. The movie looks pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So like a dark. I mean, to be fair, they said this game is very far away, which is fine.
Oh, it's probably conception stage right now.
4 years out, but
yeah, for sure.
That could be cool as hell because
it could.
I mean, it's a good idea too because it takes away from the whole. Well, there's 4 turtles, and shouldn't it be a 4-player game? It's like, nah, man, there's 1 turtle.
Yeah.
So you play as him, and imagine if it's like a dark thing, like set in like New York or something, and you're going around fighting the Foot and all that kind of stuff. Like that'd be
cool.
Yeah, exciting. A game you never thought you would get.
Never,
but I'm fucking stoked for it.
Well, even for a Turtles, like I would think they would, stick with. We just got that excellent Shredder's Revenge. Make another game like that. So
I think we'll still get that.
I think you will. Too,
I think you'll get a sequel.
Insanely good and insanely popular. So,
chaos.
There you go.
Well, we'll go ahead and here. We'll jump into emails. So. We got our first email comes from Grant from Azusa. I'm going to butcher this. I'm sorry, dude. Grant from Azusa, California. A lot of people from California this week, which is cool. Hey guys, love the podcast. I was curious how much any of you all ever got into repairing systems or tinkering under the hood of a system. So, a little bit is what I would say. So I famously had the original Xbox problem that everybody had with that clock issue. So I've done that thing. That Xbox still sits on the shelf behind me. Can't see that, but I pull that down from time to time if I do a stream. I mean, it works flawlessly. It had that problem. I was able to look up, do that. I have a little bit of soldering skills since I do repair guitars, so I was able to do that. It wasn't that big of a deal. So I've done that. I've also, back in the day, it was very controversial to open a system, especially like in the 360 era. But I have like replaced a fan in a 360 before. And that, to varying degrees, would you have success with that? Maybe for a little bit, but it would still have to get, you'd either have to get a new one or it would go in.
Yeah. Like I've opened stuff. I've cleaned stuff. I've opened and cleaned games. Just because they rattle inside or the contacts are bad. I've replaced a pin connector in a Nintendo.
Yeah, that I've done.
That's easy to do.
That's very easy to do. The worst and the most recent I did after like the last generation, especially the PlayStation made it really easy to swap out hard drives internally.
Yeah.
Even PS5, it's not hard.
Oh yeah, I mean I've done that.
My girlfriend's original PS4 that we ended up I ended up trading it in at some point because I ended up giving her my Pro. And then now that's just, here in the house that we live in. But her PS4 she had since launch. Thing had never been cleaned out. Oof. She lives in a house that has a lot of animals, a lot of dogs, a lot of cats at the time. So I took that thing to upgrade the hard drive, and then I just like saw like the amount of dust on my. I stripped that thing down a lot to clean it. But I'll say once I did that, because it is not a hard system to take apart.
No, it's not.
Like some of the other ones. Like I would probably never open I don't know about the new Xbox, but like the redesigned Xbox One systems are a nightmare to open because of the different screws that they use. So I probably would never want to open one of those, but the PlayStation really easy. But I'll say once I cleaned that thing out, it ran like a day one launch system.
Like, well, that's the problem with those systems. The other thing too is like I've been watching a lot of stuff lately too that kind of makes me want to go through and like get my old Xbox out and clean it. And you know, we're talking about systems that are 20, 25 years old and like need like thermal paste and shit redone because it's all dry, it's all not working. Like, you know,
the original Xbox is fun to take apart because once you take it apart, you can have an appreciation for just like how kind of shitty it's put together. Like when you open it, because it's like, here's just a generic CD to CDR drive we threw in here. Like, here's like this old ass SATA hard drive, or like pre-SATA hard drive that's like on the other side of it. Like, you can tell why they made this thing a fucking box.
Yes.
So, like, as I took it apart, I had a much higher appreciation for it.
Computer shoved into a box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I've taken Game Boys apart. And like some controllers and stuff too to like try to clean
controllers for sure,
corrosion and stuff off of like battery terminals, and like a Wavebird especially. I've cleaned a bunch of those because for whatever reason I had a bunch that had batteries in
dirty ass controllers get traded.
I mean, instead of like necessarily opening stuff, like cleaning stuff, like we had toothbrushes and shit at the store to scrape the gunk out of the stuff.
Oh
like,
man,
I'd like to do more. There was a time recently too where I was very much gonna get all the parts to upgrade like a Game Boy Advance, like the
want to do backlights,
the ones, and get like a backlight and a chargeable battery and all that stuff. I was really like piecing stuff out, getting parts, and looking at colors and stuff.
I don't have a reason to.
And then I got my Pocket, so it was like, do I need to do that? Not
you don't really need it,
but it's still a project I would like to do.
It'd be fun.
I just want to. Well, the thing is like I have what you would consider like a really poor quality like Pocket, which doesn't even have a battery cover. So it would be kind of fun to redo a Pocket and just like test everything on that and all that kind of stuff, and look at a different mods and stuff for a Pocket, because if I fuck it up, whatever, it's a Pocket. But again, I don't really need to, but I've got a bunch of systems that do need to be cleaned. So
sure, same
for sure.
I know I was
remember. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was going to say, I know for me, I've been wanting to get into that really well. I think I have a Series S right now down in my basement that was like disassembled by a guy. I bought it off really cheap, and he said that it wasn't staying on, which makes me think it's the power source, which I was actually really wanting to get into that, but I didn't have any space to. But now I have like an extra space in my house that I'm actually been thinking about actively, like looking for like YouTube tutorials on how to like solder and like take things apart and stuff like that. Cause I think that would be kind of a cool little like side gimmick, especially with the amount of time that people sell some of these consoles at for like dirt cheap, because it doesn't do something that you can just like go back in and like you said, like
it is. Yeah,
exactly. And then just like fix it and then, price it and sell it back out.
I was lucky because when I was in high school and when I lived in Michigan and I went to a very large, it was actually 3 high schools in one, is more like a college campus. So they had a ton of different courses you could take. I had a technology class. That's how I learned how to solder stuff. From that, and then that's a skill. Like, I learned it, I didn't use it for like a decade,
that's my
and then
fault.
I got into this guitar stuff, and I was like, I probably could solder stuff, and like it took a little bit, like it took a couple months for me to get back into it, but like now, like if I buy a set of new pickups for a guitar, I can slap those in like a half hour and be good.
Gotcha.
So it's a very useful skill.
It's something I did a very long time ago, probably almost 20.
But even then,
but
even then, I'll say the same thing, Matt. I watched it, like when I wanted to get back into it, I watched a shit ton of YouTube videos, and I was scared as hell.
Yeah, that's it. Because the other
to do it, and now I don't care.
Yeah, the other thing I need to look into is like replacing batteries in games.
Yeah,
and those aren't super easy because those pieces the battery holders are a lot of times like on the board, and they're not like that one where you can just pop the button cell out. That you have to take the whole thing off. But when you do that, you could replace it with the kind where you can pop a button, sell in and out. So obviously that makes it better for the future because, we're at the point now where the shit's dying. And it's just, there's nothing we can do about it. My Xbox, I haven't plugged it in years. I wouldn't be surprised if it does not turn on when I
have to do that
in the capture.
Yeah. So, next email we got actually a return email from one of the many GameStop folks that emailed us. So this comes to us from Mike from Redact. He says, "Hey guys, I wrote in a few episodes back about trading in my keys after being given the pay cut and the ludicrous hours to give out between myself, ASL, and SGA. Thanks again for what you guys do with this podcast. I was able to get a job in the IT field, and it pays significantly more than what I was making at Shitstop. I should have listened a while ago and left. Keep up the good work with this podcast."
Great job,
Mike. Glad somebody wrote back.
Perfect. We are very, very happy.
Yeah. And that's what we've tried to say is like, even if you've been there for like 2 years as a manager, you can easily go and find a job in the IT field because they know. Yeah.
And a lot of it is like, if you've been a manager at that place, you have very specific skills like customer service skills, like finance skills, like team building skills, like all of this stuff translates to other place. And like, if you go to a place where like, yeah, man, I was a manager for 5 years and just run down. Think about the stuff you actually do every day and run that whole list down. It's a lot more than you think it is.
Wow.
Yeah, man,
for sure.
Balancing a schedule between 3 people and like X amount of hours today. Like that's a jigsaw puzzle that is worse than it was when we were there.
I had to take news from people above me and translate it to people below me so that everything like you just have a lot of stuff. And like again, you work in a GameStop, you have at least a passing interest in electronics, and IT stuff is not that far outside of it. Kyle and I know we basically went to IT after we worked there.
Yeah,
that was our next job after that.
And that's what I've been in.
The thing about IT, as long as you have a brain that can process that stuff, a lot of that is learning on the job because every place you go for IT is not the same. Like Kyle and I had to teach ourselves.
Yeah, the key. Like you might go to a place where the answer for someone above is just Google it. Yeah. So, because that was how it was at that Mac place.
We were trained to Google answers.
Yeah.
But the thing is like
literally,
the place we went to also had a proprietary software that we were not trained on and were in fact told we didn't need to know. And then it came up at work almost every day.
Every day.
So I had to teach myself this company's proprietary software in between fixing all these other problems.
And then whenever they'd release an update, they'd fuck something else up that you have to read the notes and figure out, all right, what did they do this time? Because now I have X amount of people calling in.
You know, you're built for that kind of thing. So like I'm ecstatic that Mike was able to find a job. Again, the key point for everybody listening, and if you're happy at GameStop, that's fine. Like that's your choice, and I'm not going to try to take that away from you.
Yeah.
But he's getting paid more to do what is got to be better than the situation he's in.
Has to be. Next email we have comes from Clancy from Valencia, California. At least I got that one right. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, been listening for a while now. I love that you guys rip on GameStop, but at the same time that you are fair enough to point out where the bullshit actually lies. My question is this. What is the worst customer reaction you have ever had to selling a game that was already open that you had to resale? Thanks. I mean, the classic one I would say, and Dan's going to know exactly what I'm going to say, is the 3 options.
We've talked about him before.
But we've talked about it.
He was always kind of, he's a good indicator of like the farthest people would go, where like they would literally start like an argument with you about why it's wrong and how your company should fix it.
It's and like, how you're a terrible person.
And right. And then it's like
standing up for the customer.
It's like, homie, I'm the only person working. Like, look around. Do you see anybody else in the building? No, it's just me. I cannot, like, there's literally nothing else for me to do. The best I can do for you is call another store and see if they have a sealed one. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can try to get one shipped here for you if it's really that big of a deal. Listen, man, we get it. We understand why people don't necessarily like this, but we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Like, people steal all the time. It's not even that. It's just, it's common sense to now put out shit. Go to Walmart and try to buy a game. It's fucking locked in a case. Best Buy, they're locked in plastic cases. Target, they're locked in plastic. They're like fucking tethered to the unit if they're not locked behind glass. Like
get the rope.
Everywhere these things have to be locked down. Like, I get that it sucks, man. I do. We try to avoid it. We do. Like, corporate always be like, gut 4 copies. No, you're insane. I'm not doing that.
Oh, their numbers for what they wanted you to get
make an entire shelf of this stuff. But you would get people who were just like blown away, like could not believe it. Like, I can't believe, like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to buy this. It's just, but like the ones who would argue and then like try to pitch you ideas on how to make it better, get cover art for every game.
They don't work.
It's not going to work, man. Like, they're never
going to pay that amount of money.
We're never going to get the cover art for it in the first place, and then the walls are empty. It's just like there was never a good option. Like, at best, what we would try to do is like, look, man, I'll put the sticker on it as little as possible, just so like the goop isn't on it, because those stickers, the goop on those stickers,
they were terrible. When we got the bags like that, for me, like once we got the bags, that was the best invention they made to kind of solve that. And for most people that would come in after, that was acceptable because it wasn't the stupid shitty circle sticker that always left residue. Like, look, man, even as light as you put on there,
I can reseal it up in this bag. You can watch me do it. I can show you the disc before I put it in there. Most people don't understand this. Like, the gutting process is very simple. I slice the plastic. I peel the plastic off. I open the case. I take the disc out of the case like a normal person should, right? Don't touch the bottom of it. And I put it in a sleeve and I put it away.
And it sits in the drawer until somebody buys it.
From that point until somebody buys it. It's just, it's a shitty process, but if you have like retail experience or common sense, you understand why it has to be done. But, the people who go online and bitch about it, it's like, look, man, GameStop doesn't care about you. They don't care about employees. Like, they don't give a shit about anybody.
For sure. Next email we have comes from Redacted. So you know what that means. Rob from Redacted says, "Hi all, love the podcast. Current manager, I'm curious when you all ran Pro Week, or whatever, I assume we called it. Back then, wasn't it the tax sale? And they just call it Pro Week
That was a different kind of thing. Like, we had Pro Day, which was like,
now they do week long.
Well, originally it was Pro Day, and then it was Pro Weekend, and then it would be like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then now it's
Pro Day was always Saturday.
Yes,
and then they changed it to weekends. I think by the time I left, but I'm not surprised it's a week now. Did you actually have the product you were advertising? I swear nearly half of what's advertised we either don't have or is online only, and because custo guests, I love that he used the word custo guests, don't read, they come in expecting that we have it. It's just been incredibly frustrating. Thanks. I mean, obviously that would happen for sure.
Yeah. I mean, back when it was
sure it's worse now.
When it started as Pro Day, like, they were generally pretty good. And like, they knew
when it was just one day,
they knew Madden was going to be on sale for Saturday for $30 off, right? So they would give us Madden, or they'd make sure ahead of time that we had enough. Or and the other thing too, you got to remember, when we worked there, pros gave you discounts on used games. Remember, that's not a thing anymore. So that was the biggest part of Pro Day, was it would be 20% off or double points or something. The biggest thing they ever really bitched about on Pro Days were you got to have 12 pro cards. It's like, what if I don't see 12 people? Like, I don't. Sometimes that happens. But then by weekends, like, it would definitely happen. A lot of times it would happen with like accessories. You'd have like 2 of the controller, and then they'd be gone, within the first couple hours. And then you get people come in and be like, they're gone, man. I could try to see if somebody else around here has them. And then by that point, it's like, nobody does. I already know that nobody does. I mean, it was always a problem to run out of stuff that they would do that with, where buy 2 get 1 free used games. All the good used games are gone in the first hour, because it's like people walk in to do that. It's always a fighting battle, because and the worst part is like, they know ahead of time, man. Like, they know what's going to be on sale, but again, they're trying. They don't even necessarily care about the people doing it in your store. They just care about moving it. So if it's online on the website, just put in a web in-store order form and make them wait 4 days, or until it's awaiting product availability, which means you could ship at any time. Yes, I mean, you go to the website, that's literally all you see on the front page right now. Pro Week, I mean, Kyle, you have an example of how they.
I can give you my example, because that's why I went to a store today. I actually bought something that was on sale that I did not plan on buying when I went in there, but So that Microsoft came out. I'm a sucker for whatever reason. This generation specifically, I've been a sucker for controllers for the Xbox. Like every time they come out with a new color, I feel like I need to get it for whatever reason. Not every color, but a lot of them. Like a couple weeks ago was that Stellar Shift, which I have now. And that one's cool because it comes with a free background that you can only get if you get that controller and connect it to your system.
That's neat. Cool. They need to do more stuff like that.
They need to do more stuff like that. But they've now come out with a lime green one that looks awesome. I need them to do an orange. That's my favorite color. So if they do a bright neon orange, I'm there.
Hey, remember real quick when I was at that conference and I won an orange controller, but I could have won a fucking 65-inch TV? Yeah. But no, I won the controller instead.
Like, remember when they did that orange and blue, you like to call it the Chicago Bears PlayStation controller?
Yep.
That was my favorite DualShock color.
Yeah,
that color scheme I love. So if they ever do one like that for Xbox,
they'll do an orange at some point.
They'll do orange. Yeah. At this point, they're going to. But they have a lime green one. And so I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then, like, if you go just to either GameStop's website or for me, it was a Facebook ad, they advertise that controller. Like, what it is there are certain controllers that are on sale for $40 if you're a pro. But they advertise as the picture that new green controller. So I was I'm like, sure, man, I would like to do this. So of course I was like, I'll just order it online. No, it comes up as I should expect. I was there for, almost 5 years. I should know this by now. But so today I was out running errands and I decided, I'm just going to stop in and see if they have it. And I'm just going to ask. Like, I kind of knew what the answer was going to be, but I wanted to just see. And sure enough, it's still like controller. So that's too new. It just
Which one is it? Is it that?
It's lime green. I forget what it's called. It's not Electric Volt. That's the yellow one.
It's
which
the velocity. The velocity.
Velocity. Yeah. It's cool. It's really cool. But see, my thing too is when I buy those, then I look for that Razer dock because that's how I control those, and then I buy the dock. So I need them to make a Stellar Shift dock so I can get that. But I ended up, and just because I was there, I was like, I asked my question, obviously not, and I was looking around. I ended up buying a Batman statue that was on clearance for $20. So, I walked in and walked out on that, but that I had no intentions of buying anything other than that controller if it was on sale.
Yeah,
and they got me. So
that's how it works. But
pro
again,
day or pro week,
But again, like you bought something they're trying to get rid of. Like you're not even that was there for Pro Day. I mean,
the funny thing was I brought it up because it had no price on it, and it was in a section that had clearance stuff. But I thought it was weird. It's like it's got no price, so I brought up. I just asked the guy. I was like, "Can you just tell me like what this, what the price of it is?" And he looked at it, and he looked bummed because I think he wanted to buy it. And he's like, "It's $20." And I looked at him like, "Yeah, I'm gonna buy that right now." So, because like it's a pretty fucking cool Batman statue. So
the other problem,
I'm happy.
The other problem with like Pro Days and stuff is some of the deals would be good, and then some of them were just bad.
Yeah,
$10 off of a game from 5 months ago. Wow, like no one's buying it anyway.
I think this fell under the category because the collectibles thing right now is like 40%.
Oh, I know. Collectibles is always at that place.
It fell under that category.
Yeah. You get an extra 40% off clearance. Is what it says. So
of course, then I brought it home. My girlfriend said, "Oh, did you buy that for me?"
Two?
I said, "No."
Yeah.
Then it was, "Well, could you go get another one?" No, they don't have another one, and this is going to my office on the shelf. So, but yeah, whatever Pro Week got me. So,
but the thing is like, so you went there to try to get a controller that wasn't on sale for Pro Week, even though it was advertised in that section.
They had plenty of controllers, I'll say that. Yeah. So they were stocked for that, but don't advertise. Maybe don't use that picture as the one. Cause I'll tell you, here's another good one. I noticed this the same time. So they're selling, you can buy digitally. And this is a key thing to point out. Digitally, you can buy the previous version of Resident Evil 4 for $20 digitally, like on their website.
Okay.
They're not using that picture to advertise it. They're using the picture of the new one. Yeah.
You get the fuck out of here.
Because I saw that. No, I think they might have fixed it now. I'd have to go look. It was the Facebook ad, where you can scroll left to right. Mm-hmm. So I was scrolling when I saw the controller, and then I saw that. I'm like, are you fucking
That's really good.
$20? And then I click it, and when you click it and it opens up, obviously then the picture is the other version of the game.
God, that's really good.
Man, someone really fucked up there because somewhere someone went into a store thinking they were getting that for $20 fucking.
We want to talk about something quick. I mean, we'll get to the next question in a minute, but like I was, just perusing the Reddit as usual. And I didn't even think of this until I saw that it happened to someone today. Think about the people that went into GameStop today to pick up the Resident Evil 4 that had the collector's edition reserved.
That didn't know. That just didn't.
Because there was at least one person who they claim, they're probably right. They claim the store never called them and they never got any notification about it.
Oh, there are stores out there that
didn't check online or didn't get the email or maybe went to junk or whatever. But it's going to happen. Like there are people who are going to be affected by this that didn't go in a store. Imagine that.
Oh man.
Yeah, Jesus.
I wouldn't want to be that person.
The day you reserved it, they paid in full to reserve it.
Oh fuck, that's a bad
to go in the day it comes out and be like, yeah, I'm here to pick up my Resident Evil 4 collector, my GameStop exclusive Resident Evil 4 collector.
Yeah, that's the key thing. Like that,
we didn't get it exclusive. We're never getting it.
That's like we're never like.
God, man, imagine those conversations. Fucking rough.
And again, like I said, there are stores that were just like, I'm not making these phone calls because it's going to be good, but
for sure,
it's going to get you in the end. Like. It's going to get you in the end. It's going to be bad.
Well, one of the things we always hated was making like reserve pickup phone calls, like because half the time these people would like not answer the phone, like or be a wrong number. It's like you gave us the fucking phone number.
Hey man, I still remember, and I think we mentioned it last time we were talking about it. But remember the Batman? I remember you calling me the day before. I mean, I worked there at the time, but I remember you called me to tell me that because you're like, hey, I just want to let you know this car you think you're getting tomorrow, it's not happening.
It's gone.
Because I was one of those like, get the fuck out of here now. And then I went and looked it up. Sure enough,
luckily, that was not
in the final hour.
That wasn't a GameStop fault. That was
we're
not making this car anymore.
They fucked up. Yeah.
Oops.
So,
but this one, for as much as it's on bad. Capcom and whoever made the Resident Evil collectors, like this is on GameStop too, man. Like
it is.
For sure.
But have we confirmed like was all of that cancer? Does that thing exist? Like, are there people that are getting it?
That's a good question. I never looked to see.
Because if that thing actually came out and somebody gets it, that has to be fucking ridiculous.
The Resident Evil Reddit. Expensive. There's got to be people who have pictures of it.
There has to be somebody that got it.
Let's see.
Because, like, fuck, that has to be so, like, the amount of money that's going to be up there with that Last of Us Pandemic Edition.
Oh, God. It's going to be even worse. It's going to be more expensive.
It'll be worse.
You got one, you shouldn't open it.
My Resident Evil 3 that I have with the Jill, like that's over $400. So, and I opened mine. That's at open. So
here's one. Are you looking up
too,
eBay?
Yeah. Here's one right here. Yeah, I cannot believe people. There's two people that got it.
Did you hide that as you left the store so you didn't get mugged?
Well, I mean, no, because it would have been delivered
what are we talking price eBay? What are we talking price on eBay?
So the highest price I see on eBay right now is $512.
That's lower than I thought, to be fair.
That's lower than I thought, but yeah, I'm not surprised.
I would.
What was the retail of it? $250?
$250.
Yeah, that was the same as the Jill one.
I would have put it somewhere in the 8 range, just because that's what I was expecting. Copies of this.
Yeah, God, the lowest price I'm seeing is $330 for the whole thing.
That's pretty low. You want one? Get on it right now.
Yeah,
I would get on that right now. Yeah,
buy that one now and never open it.
Oh man,
God damn.
That's good to know though.
Yeah.
Next email we have comes from Riley from Salt Lake City, Utah. He says, "Hi guys. I've been super excited on the Resident Evil 4 remake since announcement, but since starting it when it unlocked, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not sure what it is, but it's just not hitting me the way that the remakes of 2 and 3 did. My question is, have you ever been massively hyped for a game only to get it and just feel underwhelmed? It's not that I feel this is bad. I'm just not nearly as into it as I was hyped leading up to the release. Thanks."
I mean, yeah, I think that happens to most people on one way or the other, right? There's always a game. It does. Like, man, I'm super excited. And then you play it, like, I'm not feeling it. And my biggest example would be.
Yeah, what was your example?
Oh man, mine's Red Dead Redemption 2. Like
2. I
legitimately love the first game. Like
it's a great game.
Love the first game so much. I played
much of it. That multiplayer.
The minute it came out, I played a ton of the multiplayer. Like, could not stop playing it. It's my favorite like Rockstar game out of all of them. Like, including all GTAs, whatever. The first one. And then so
I got
like,
a good one.
So they announced the second one, and I'm like, oh fuck yes, more Red Dead, like hell yeah. And then it's a prequel, awesome. And then they talk about it, they show it, I'm like, man, this all looks incredible. And then I play it, and I can't get past like the first 6 hours. You know what I mean? Like, and I've started that game twice and played to the same point like twice, and I don't feel it, and it kind of bums me out because I really wish I did because of how much I loved the first game and doing everything.
There's some really cool stuff in that game. But
I know there is. Like that's the worst part.
I know what you mean.
But it's just like the game, like the first one did it too. Like the game drags. Like it definitely does. Like there are slow points.
Yeah.
And in that game, more than GTA, is more about like finding your own way around, just because there isn't a lot of stuff. But the first one was like that too, and it didn't bother me. But I don't know. Maybe I just don't want.
Without spoiling it, there is and I know you did not get to this part of the game because it's later, but there is a chapter of that game where you briefly go to a different country, and it drags like to the point of like, did we need to even put this in the game? So like, it's not just you. Like there are parts of that game that like it definitely drags, but there are some also really cool shit.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I know there is, and it's just one of those things where like I played through it on X. I bought on Xbox day one, $100 edition. Played the first 6 hours, like man, I'm just not feeling it. And I played a little bit of the online, and I wasn't really feeling that either. And then they put it up on Plus during this whole thing, and I'm like, let's give it another shot. It's been years. I'll do it again. I played like the same point. I'm like, I'm not.
You know, and the thing I'll say about it, like when I think back, especially on Rockstar games, like as much as like I'll say like there's some really cool shit in that game, it's not one of the games I remember as fondly as, you know, some of the other big profile Rockstar games. Yeah. Ironically, my biggest one is also a Rockstar game, but it is Grand Theft Auto 4. Because I was so hyped for that. Sure. I took a week. That was the time I was working at Target. I took a week off of work. I was so fucking pumped for Grand Theft Auto 4. Oh, I was so like just getting that the way like it's like you're driving on. It's like your car's on ice skates. Like the driving is terrible in that fucking game. Like it's just
you go bowling.
The story is okay. Yeah, the guy's calling you to go bowling all the time. Like I made it through the story. Don't get me wrong, but I was so pumped on that.
I liked it, but I will say that like if you look back on it now, 4 is just like a like 3 with more to do in it. It's set up the same way, like it's still gated off the same way that 3 was. Especially after going from, you know, I think I've talked about it before. I don't really care for San Andreas, but I played it. Going from San Andreas to 4 felt like you went backwards. You know, like even though it was like a new system and stuff, it really felt like we're starting it back over where 3 was.
Right.
And then 5 comes out and 5 is incredible. So it's just like 4 is this weird like middle one where it's like I don't think I could ever play
the other thing that did not help the situation for me is maybe I want to say this was early March that year, right before 4 came out, they put out that 360 version of Bully like that March. And I demolished that game. I did everything on 2 different profiles. And as I've told you, I've beaten through Bully like 10 times. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So to go from that and then go to GTA 4, that probably didn't help the situation, but like, man, I was bummed. The other game I'll put on here, and the difference here is I have respect for this game today. I've played through this game a couple times now. I don't have the reaction that I did when it came out, but you'll know exactly what I'm going to say. Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's
because that was a classic example, but like I stayed home from school that day.
Well, that was
super pumped.
That was the bait and switch.
I was so excited. And I had not read any of the reviews on purpose that were even in magazines. Because again, this was, you know, we had the internet, but like everything was still coming out in magazines. I purposely stayed away from everything. And then I got through that whole tanker thing. And then you find out the real truth of that game. And I'm just like, what's happening? Where's Snake? And then he shows up as, you know, Pliskin. And it's like, this isn't what I want this game to be.
Yeah.
So obviously I have massive respect for that game now, but at that time I was super fucking pumped as a kid. So it just, but yeah, GTA 4 for me would be the one I will always remember because I was so hyped for that game. The trailers and everything. I was like, this is going to be it.
Red Dead 2 is the one. Like I said, Red Dead.
I could see that though.
Red Dead's my favorite one of all of them. Like now I think about like LA Noire is really close to that, but
LA Noire,
but
it was a great game.
I can imagine LA Noire was that game for a lot of people because there were people who did not know what it was.
Exactly.
And I tried to teach these people, and nobody would listen to me. And we had a lot of people. We had a lot of people try to return that game, like more so than normal, for sure. But
because people thought they were just going to get in a car, run around, shoot.
Yeah, you thought you were going to fire off.
That's not what
gun.
The game is.
It's not at all. But yeah, I just read that too. It's just I appreciate it. I think it's a technical masterpiece. Like it looks incredible.
I wish they would do some sort of update for it, but
it would be nice to be maybe if the day comes where I get a PS5 copy of it. I would.
And that's the thing. Like, I would like to go back. I never 100%ed it. And I've watched videos on the 100% because there's some really weird, remember in the original game had like some supernatural stuff in it. There's some even more weird supernatural stuff.
Like, one of the things it's awesome. I've seen a lot of it. I've looked into a lot of it to try to maybe convince myself that you will like this game. And it's just, I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I fully understand. So, how about you, Matt? You got anything?
Stunt Race FX.
Sorry. Okay. Not what I would ever have imagined, but
so like I could think of a lot of games that I got and I was disappointed with, but I can't think of games that I was hyped up to play and actually played them and was disappointed with. Like I was disappointed in The Order 1886, but that was just a bad game overall. So it's not like it was a game that was great and that I was just like, I'm not really a fan of it.
Or that game was like, I think the marketing for that game failed that game.
It was bad.
Horribly. Yeah. And then like, for me, like No Man's Sky, I was hyped for No Man's Sky.
In the beginning,
everybody was.
I remember reading everything about it and it wasn't
we all did.
It wasn't for me. Like everybody was like, oh man, you're going to go and you're going to like be able to like fight all these people. And I'm like, have you actually like read like what the game is about? It's got nothing to do with like fighting anybody. Like you're actually like mining and shit. Like
the worst part was like I knew what it was about and I was excited.
Exactly.
And even then, Kyle remembers this. Like even then, we were both kind of like, we don't really need to play it. It's kind of a thing. But then everybody was buying it. Everybody was buying it. Like we could not like
that first like
keep it.
2 weeks,
even like the first like month. It was just everybody buy it. And then
obviously
finally,
the copies rolled in.
Yeah, you and I think you and I kind of broke down and we're like, I guess we should just play it now because I don't really want to fall behind like what everybody else is doing in this game.
I played 20 hours into the OG version of the game, but then I got to the bunch. What's the point?
And then that game didn't have a purpose. And then I was and then
obviously
now it's
wildly different,
totally different game.
I put in like over 100 hours between me and my buddy. Like I think that was the first pandemic summer.
I think like a week ago, I was like, maybe I should put that back in.
Even now, even if you go back now, they've changed so much because we both have tried to go back to it. And every time I load it up, I'm just like, boy, now there's like bounties and shit. Like I don't even know what the fuck's going on. I'm just like, I've seen what I want to see out of this game. I respect it, but like,
that's great.
It's like Destiny. I don't think I could ever go back until there's a Destiny 3. So,
probably.
Yeah.
I could see that.
That would be my time. So.
But yeah, I remember playing Stunt Race, like seeing the commercials of it as a kid, dude. Okay. So like, I don't know. Like as a kid, I was a big cartoon guy, so like seeing all the cartoonish looking characters and the way you would race down, and I was like, okay, that should be a lot of. And then getting it, and it just like wasn't. It wasn't what I expected.
No, it's not a great game. It's still even playing really an original cart on original hardware. It's still it's slow. It's really choppy.
It really is.
And the whole point was like the FX chip, and like Star Fox uses it, and that's good. So like this should be good, and it is not.
It's horrible. So I mean, like, and the sad part is, I have a copy of it.
I do too.
Like, so it's just like, I think that's probably one of the most like hyped up. I was hyped up for it. I was excited for it, and I played it, and I was just like, I think the first time I played it, I rented it because I was like. I saw it at the store and I was like, oh, okay, dope. Let me rent this. And if I like it, I'll just grab it, And I was kind of disappointed that I wasted my rental for that one. And I was like, man, like I can't tell my dad I don't like this game and I go back to the store because he's going to be like, deal with it, boy. And I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. So I think for me, that was it.
Imagine that you think about that today, being disappointed you wasted your rental.
You wasted,
I know exactly what that means.
Exactly what that is.
I had those experiences many times too where I'm like, like shit.
You
like,
rent a game
and tell my parents
fucking
I just
sucks,
don't care
and it's
for
like,
this.
well, I guess I'm playing this for 5 days.
Only the biggest one I ever remember, and I've mentioned it, was I remember going down pedaling my bike to Family Video to rent that Resident Evil Survivor game, just fucking hating it, and then same day I was like, I'm gonna pedal back and just I literally took it back and was just like they knew me pretty well at this point in the Family Video, but they took pity on me and like, just pick something else out. So I got lucky on that one.
That's
but
like, wasting a rental is a very real thing for all of us that were kids.
Wasted a rental. Like,
what was the game? I remember specifically Krusty's like Super Funhouse for Super Nintendo. I remember renting that.
God.
That's a good one.
That's a bad game.
Yeah.
And I remember renting that and then playing it for like an hour and then just being like, I can't tell my dad. So
remember the NES game Gumshoe?
Oh yeah, that's a light game.
Yeah, that was one that I rented and we had to like it because of Duck Hunt, but
it's a weird game.
Didn't do it for me that weekend.
I just remember
also
that fucking Krusty game be like, I guess I'm playing this for 5 fucking days. And it's just terrible.
As a kid was big into Dick Tracy.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that's not a great.
That's
NES
a bad game too. Yeah.
I remember renting that and be like, this game's not good.
So I think another now we're on the subject of bad rentals. What was it? Batman Forever for the SNES? Like I couldn't get the grapple.
It's a really weird game.
It really is strange. And I remember spending like hours on the same stage because I couldn't. Number one, I didn't know what the grapple button was, and I was pushing everything. But you had to like hit it at like a specific like moment, and like I don't remember. But I was pissed when I finally figured it out, and I like figured it out the day I had to take it back. And I was like so.
And
angry,
then remember,
dude.
You're not allowed to rent the same game twice in a row because otherwise I would just buy it at that price.
Exactly.
Right?
Is that what you?
That was my dad.
You were told?
That was my dad's.
I had the complete opposite.
Was never allowed to rent a game
like,
2 times in a row.
Really, I had the opposite where my dad's just like, you don't need to buy any games. You could just rent everything. And then when and as I famously have said, I never owned a copy of GoldenEye growing up because I rented it so many times.
Yeah, see, my dad would
add that up. Would have been like $200.
Exactly.
Easily.
Oh,
my
yeah,
dad, like, because remember, like, we're talking about renting games in the 90s, and renting games was $7 in the 90s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's what, $15?
Like 5 to 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so if I rented a game and told my dad I wanted to rent it again, he's like, no, absolutely not. No.
It's funny because I had the opposite. Like my dad,
the worst part was you had to convince him, like, if it's a game that had a save file, you're like, no, I need to rent this specific copy. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was the thing too. Yeah. I remember GoldenEye. It was like, I want to say I like clipped a little bit of like the artwork just to be like
to know which one.
I remember if it was that copy, and then trying to get it. Yeah.
Oh, that was smart.
But no, I had the opposite until I got to like probably mid 64 PS1 era where they finally were like, if you want to buy games, you can buy it with your like allowance, and then they just didn't care. But like, those early days, I remember it was just like, no, you can just rent them.
Nope.
You don't need to go buy them. Like I'd get something for Christmas, like that'd be the one thing. You know, I'd get the one game, but like that was his big thing until that point, and then it was just like whatever. So, but man, I know exactly what that rental disappointment.
Wasted rentals.
Wasted it for that weekend. Our final email comes from Beatrice from Austin, Texas. She says, hey guys, love the podcast and was curious. It's been a while since you've talked in depth about collecting. Do you guys still have any holy grail items that you are hunting for? So, I mean, I still need to finish my Castlevania collection, obviously. I still need to find a copy. Maybe this coming weekend, if I make it to MGC, I will look for a decent copy. I don't even know what it goes for now. I haven't looked.
I don't know.
I told you that there's one specific game I'm looking for. It's not a holy grail. I just want a copy of it because I want to play it again. Is Eternal Darkness.
Right.
I've not played that game since it came out. It comes up constantly in different lists and stuff I watch on YouTube. And like, I remember really enjoying the game when it came out, but I never owned a copy of it. And now I'd like to stream it. I'd like to, for Horror Month or whatever, I'd like to play through it. I have a great way to play GameCube games and HDMI now. So, that's one that I would really like to get. And I think that it like hovers around $100. So I'm like, is that more than I'd like to pay for it? Sure. But like, it's only going to go up. So it's a GameCube game.
Yeah.
Holy Grails for me though, like, I mean, again, any of those couple Castlevanias, I'm missing Dracula X, and I'm missing that final Game Boy Castlevania game. It's like Castlevania like Legend or something. It came out in '97. It was like right before they started making the Game Boy Color games. It's like the last Game Boy Classic game, basically. I don't have that for whatever reason. So I even have the other two Game Boy games. I have arguably the hardest fucking Castlevania game to get, and I have it sealed.
Well,
like, think about that.
You have it. So it's hard to get because you have it's complete. It's
complete. Yeah. I don't have Dracula X because I've been fucked on that twice now.
Yeah,
so
like, that's the worst part. Is like getting fucked twice.
And that's why I kind of just have given up on that for a while, but I'll look, I'll just kind of see like what it's hovering at in price. But that's probably, I would say, like the biggest Holy Grail would be actually getting a legit copy,
like obtaining like something that's
obtaining it. Yeah.
Something you could conceivably get.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mine, like it kind of falls into two categories where like there's one that's like conceivable, and then there's one that's like I would love, but I'm never going to have it. I've talked about it before, but like I really want to copy Harvest Moon for Super Nintendo for whatever, no other reason than it's just like it's a hard game to find. I loved it as a kid. It's a game I rented and never owned. I just like those kind of games, and like it would be cool to have that one too. So it's as someone who loves Super Nintendo and has a lot of Super Nintendo games, I have most of the stuff I want. I would want like boxes and stuff for certain things, but come on, let's be reasonable. I'm not going to find a Chrono Trigger box for a reasonable price. The one that's like the Grail would be there's a Spider-Man game for the 32X, which it's called Web of Fire. It is absurd. It's absurd. Like it's absurdly expensive. It's a shit game, but it's crazy expensive.
I would have never played because I never had a Genesis.
Yeah, I didn't at the time either, but it's one of those things where I learned about it after the fact, and like. Part of me wants to get like every Spider-Man game that's been made.
Well, what is the cost of that game?
$650 loose.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's bananas, dude.
Yeah, so but it's like part of me wants to collect every Spider-Man game, and that would be like that's the pinnacle of Spider-Man video game collecting because I got the 3 Game Boy games at the last MGC, so I knocked those out. I have pretty much every disc-based one. I have the Super Nintendo ones. I have the Nintendo. I bought the Spider-Man for Nintendo complete last year because I was just kind of thinking something I was looking for last year was all the Spider-Man games. But like Web of Fire is going to be the thing that prevents this from happening. But I mean, realistically, Harvest Moon. We haven't talked about collecting a lot lately because we really haven't done any of it because we're leading up to MGC, which is a week from now.
Yeah.
So I kind of like
probably have a lot more to say.
Yeah,
after that.
I kind of paused myself until that because I like to go there. Like obviously, I'm paying better prices than if I'm hunting for stuff, but I don't mind it as much because I trust it more when I'm buying it from this place. Because
I do see. Like I really be
like.
I feel like it would be shocking for me to walk away with a counterfeit game that I'm talking like a cartridge, maybe. A disc thing or something might slip in, and that happens from time to time.
There's too many people looking at all of these games all the time.
I expect like a higher level of class here than say going to a flea market.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
where you're going to see counterfeits for days.
But Harvest Moon is a realistic one, which someday I'll just break down and buy. But Web of Fire, I'd have to get beyond lucky to get. But again, I have that copy of Musha for Genesis that I really don't care about.
Yeah, you don't care about that.
So, but I have it.
No, and like for me, otherwise, like as I've said before, like I right now am mostly focused on original Xbox because it's not crazy overpriced like everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still looking at 360 stuff as well. There's like things here, but my thing about that is like I'm not going for a complete collection of anything. I just collecting the things that I would like to have. And that's 360. I'd say I'm there are certain things that I still need. Like some of stuff you'd be surprised. A lot of stuff that's not really worth a lot of money. It's just hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe hopefully I see it there, but the original Xbox I would say would be probably my primary focus. GameCube is getting too expensive. Like I said, that's why I picked Eternal Darkness. Was like my one game. I was like, yeah, I would like to have that, but GameCube is getting too expensive. Like I would love to. There's nothing more of any of these systems right now. I would love to go and like really shoot up my numbers, but be PS1. But it is astronomical how high those
the stuff you want.
Any of those JRPGs, yeah, ridiculous. So some that I bought a couple years ago for like maybe $20 now go for $100. Like it's stuff like that where it's like this is getting out of hand. So, but yeah, I'd say I will definitely look for a copy of Dracula X there, but I don't expect to walk away with one.
No.
So, I have to figure it. There's 3. I keep saying there's 2. There's 3, and I have to figure out what the third one is. I'm missing.
You have the PSP
3
ones.
I do have, what is it, Dracula X?
The Chronicles,
or not Dracula X, Dracula Chronicles or something. I do have that. It's like I have it in the closet over here, actually, with all my Vita games.
There you go.
I don't own a PSP, but I have that game.
There you go.
So, like, I don't own an actual Vita. I have a Vita TV, but I kept all my Vita games.
There you go. That's all you need.
No, I have that. Like I said, I have the other 2 Game Boy games. I have the DS ones, the 3DS one. The one there's just the one 3DS, which was the Lords of Shadow game. It was okay. But I have the DS ones. I have the Game Boy Advance ones. I don't have boxes for the Game Boy Advance. And that's the other thing to point out. Like, I'm not going for stuff that's boxed. Like, I'm not walking into this show going, I want a Dracula X in the box. That's not feasible.
No,
for that.
No.
Right.
Like, I just want a working fucking cartridge.
Do you have the Wii one?
Is it the fighting game Judgment?
Yes,
I do.
Oh my god.
That game fucking sucks, but I do.
I need this.
I actually played quite a bit of it.
I need that shitty Soul Calibur game for Wii too, but have
you ever played Castlevania Judgment?
Yes, I have. I played it at
It is so fucking bad, but it's like kind of a guilty pleasure. So it's a weird
rough.
fucking game. It has like the most heinous looking version of Simon Belmont of any of those games. Like he looks terrible. I have that.
What about you, Matt? What's your grail? You've got to have something.
Yeah.
I was sitting here thinking about that, and off the top of my head, I think if I was looking for a grail right now, I'd be shooting for Power Stone for the Dreamcast.
Yeah, it's not a bad one. That's going up, but
just because, like when you find Dreamcast games, there's so much, and it's just kind of like you have to like nitpick and figure out where you were. I remember having a copy of Power Stone. I think I found it somewhere, but it looked really cool, and I had a friend who had a Dreamcast, so I think I bought it because it was like decently priced.
Yeah.
To play with him, but I mean, I lost it somewhere. But
see, and that's the problem too. I would love to like beef up my Dreamcast collection. I only own a couple Dreamcast games, but it is insane.
Yeah. I've only got like 30 or so. Thankfully I have a lot of heavy hitters, but even finding them is difficult.
Dude, I got 3 games for Dreamcast, and I got Fighting Force 2, Crazy Taxi 2, and Alone in the Dark.
Hey man,
see, I don't even have a.
See, those are 3 Dreamcast games I don't own, so you can just send them here.
I have a sealed copy of Crazy Taxi because remember, I don't know if you remember this, Dan, or maybe you weren't there that day, but somebody came into the store and traded in a bunch of shit, and they had a sealed copy of Crazy Taxi.
I think I remember. I wasn't there, but I remember
it as something else. But I was like, I'll have this, and I'm not ever going to.
I remember
it's not really worth that much
because I was not there, and nobody told me about it until I came in the next day, and I looked in the case because remember we used to put all the retro stuff in the case up in the front.
Yeah,
and I'm looking, and I'm like, where the fuck did these Dreamcast games come from? And then I look at him, and on the top is fucking Cannon Spike, and I said, who the fuck took Cannon Spike in and trade and did not tell me immediately?
You know who that was.
I know who it was, and I was really fucking pissed at him. I couldn't believe he didn't buy it, to be fair. But
I don't think he cared about Dreamcast at the time.
Maybe, but like I was like, who the fuck took Cannon Spike and did not tell me? I'm buying that immediately because I think at the time we only charged like only $60 for it, but that game is $300 now. It's one of the rarest like Dreamcast games there is.
Well, and that's the thing that I was like, I would love that's another system. I'd love to go and beef up my collection, but it's like not feasible because of how ridiculous the prices are.
So what I need to do is I have a broken Dreamcast I got from half price price books at one point for like $20, and I need to just gut it and put one of those SD card things in it.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
What's broken on it? Like the lens.
The lens.
Yeah,
sounds about right.
That was the number one thing that broke on those, as you know, happened to me. Yep. So, but yeah, I mean, I'd have to really sit here and think about it. But at this point, I have not been to a game convention or a flea market type thing since pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So I know the prices are going to be more wild than they were pre-pandemic, but I don't really have.
You know what, man? Like I went last year and it was not bad. Like
it wasn't bad.
No,
okay.
like
you could still find good deals at those conventions. You just have to like keep your eyes open,
bundle That's stuff, really and like compare prices. You don't buy everything the first table you go to, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you and I have had good luck in the past of like most people are willing to wheel and deal. If you're like, hey, can I get like these 3 for this? And they're like, that's fine. Like most people don't give a shit. So
I got lucky last year. I got lucky last year. This was a Grail pre last year. I told you I'd wanted a copy of Roller Coaster Tycoon for Xbox for years. Couldn't find it. I looked at that show, and the one year we went, that one booth had it for like $50. And I was like, I really don't want to pay $50 for this game because I really don't feel like it's worth it. And I made myself a deal last year. I'm like, I'm going to go, and if they have it, I'm going to do it. And we went, and sure enough, they still had it. And I was like, I'm going to keep looking just a little bit longer. I went to some other booth that was like down the aisle, and the guy had a ton of Xbox and like PS2 stuff that was not organized. Those are the best places to look because those are the best for sure. They haven't looked through it or the shit they don't give a shit about. And I'm looking through it, and all of a sudden, fucking mint copy, Roller Coaster Tycoon, $10. I was like, fuck yes.
Exactly. Well, again,
that's unheard of.
The worst thing that can happen when you go up to those is when they pull out the phone.
Yeah.
They're like, let me see.
That's what the guy did when I went to buy those Spider-Man games for the Game Boy. And I was like, shit. And then when I was like, if I buy all 3 of these, he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, kind of a thing.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. The best thing you'll find there is if you find a table where it's just a bunch of
bins of stuff.
Especially, I remember the last time that I went, that was how I found like those older Deception games, literally bins under a table that they just hadn't even gone through yet. And I got like, what was it, Deception 3 for like $15, and I'm sure that's a lot more than $15 now. So that's the best that you can hope for at those shows. So, but I'm excited this year. They I don't know if you saw. I was going to mention really quick that Nintendo display they're going to have. Did you see that?
They have a lot of stuff.
Like a World of Nintendo display that like they've never had that before.
They have a ton.
That
of
part
stuff
is cool too.
year.
The pinball stuff is always
the game
awesome.
Stuff like it's in a bigger. It's in a bigger thing now.
Same building. They think they are occupying more space.
Like it's. I'm excited. It's a fun thing to go to. Even if you don't buy a lot of stuff, it's fun to walk around and just see all the shit.
It is for sure.
The dumb thing I'm looking for this year, I've told you, is I want all Final Fantasy games for the PS3. I need all 3 of those 13.
Oh yeah, you need those.
But I really don't want to pay more than like $10 each because they're not worth more than $10.
Oh yeah,
I feel like you shouldn't have to pay that much unless you're specifically looking for the collection.
No, I need to find a place that has all 3 of those games together and just be like, 30 for all 3 of these, because who the fuck else is buying Lightning Returns on the PS3 in 2023 other than me? It's just me.
Yeah,
you can give it to me for $10.
Yeah, exactly. So, but other than that, I think that's going to wrap up this edition of Podcast 572. As always, send your emails to podcast572@gmail.com. We enjoy reading them all. And thank you, as always, for listening, and have a great next 2 weeks until we record again.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.